is Sports Center.
So welcome to the chaos at the Sports Center shop. Welcome to Sports Center.
Welcome to Sportscast.
Welcome to Sportscast. Sometimes
We're chaos at the sports podcast.
We're Sports Chaos Podcast. Chaotic Sport Podcast. And
Yeah.
this week we're going to get into March Madness.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody's
and you might
talking
think
about it, you know.
Yeah, you might think we always have that March Madness, and that's true, but this month it's double the amount of madness.
Double madness, double sports. So, what I'm looking at right now, it just looks like a bunch of words. I don't know what most of them mean.
Yeah, how many brackets have you filled out in the past?
Oh, I fill out
For March
10 every year. Minimum.
10 every year.
10
Dang,
every year for March
man.
Madness minimum.
Dang.
Yeah, and the
that's
craziest
crazy.
thing is I usually win all of them.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're
That's
not
true.
the same bracket. So a lot of loopholes, a lot of strategizing when it comes to March Madness, NCAA basketball, professional basketball in the NCAA. So if we can just get into it, start talking about our picks this year for March Madness.
Oh, things might get heated, okay? Because I've got some strong opinions on this year's picks.
Always
for
do.
March
That's why we get you on the show,
Madness.
is because you always have strong, loud opinions.
I always have strong, loud opinions, and I'm always right.
And you're always right every damn time.
Every damn time. My birth certificate is a bracket. Now,
Who won?
why don't we just get into the games?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right.
We just start week one. Week one is the right place to start.
Week one is usually the right place to start. Sometimes, though, I like to get fancy, start the finals. Okay, work my way back.
We could just cold shot this right now and pick who's going to win the whole goddamn thing.
Oh man, we could do that. I think we need, people. We need to make people wait a little bit. Because if we give them the goods right out front, they're gonna
show off for right now. The why watch?
Yeah.
And we're professionals. We don't play like that. So,
but by the end, we will tell you the definitive 100% completed right good bracket.
And so if you follow our God bracket, then you'll win March Madness.
Yeah,
you'll catch March Madness.
You'll catch March Madness.
And
I know I've got
you'll
that
go
madness.
into April just a little crazy. So let's take it from week one.
All right, I'm looking at Auburn, first seed. Okay, the Auburn Burning Abyss.
The Auburn
Against-
Burning Abyss.
Now we have two teams. It's Auburn against either Alabama State or St. Francis. Either the winner of whoever wins
So I think what they
the
probably
first round.
do is they flip a coin and one team, St. Francis or Alabama State, picks heads or tails, and whoever gets the other one gets to play Auburn.
Yeah, nobody knows how that works. I've heard that sometimes they combine forces.
Okay.
They come to a sort of agreement,
So
and
do
then
they just pick a couple guys from each team, and then they get to play Auburn.
yeah,
Okay.
or they make a big team. They got 10 people on the court.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is there
And
a
you'd think-
handicap element if they do that, or do they just get to
Well-
play with 10 guys?
Well, you think that's not fair, but we have Auburn is the first seed team, and then these other two teams are like 16th.
Okay.
So like in the group or whatever.
So the official rule is that they get twice as many guys.
Right, because the Burning Abyss is so strong. It's so hot this year. Okay?
There is sort of a thematic element that I'm seeing here, because Auburn, obviously, Hell Demon, Burning Abyss, and then St. Francis is a literal Christian saint. And so, if these two teams go head to head, it's really the devil and God.
And and then of course Alabama's always caught into the middle of that struggle.
Alabama.
So that's why they're there.
Yeah. Now, this is something I mess up a lot. Alabama and Alabama State, not the same team.
Not the same team.
Actually, arch rivals, both of them, I think.
And it really makes you wonder why.
Well, I think it had a lot to do with the Revolution.
Oh, yes, the Alabama Civil War.
Well, yeah, it's back when Alabama was North and South Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they had a big war, a lot of deaths, a lot of basketball.
The thing is, the war was fought mostly over basketball, but the thing is, Alabama State really never recovered from the war. No. And I'm worried that they've still got wounded. They've still got, they've got
War
dead. They've got
2022.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, do you think they've recovered to defeat the burning abyss of hell that is Auburn?
I don't know that they have, and so my instinct is to say St. Francis is going to take this one and get to go fight for salvation against the burning pits of hell in Auburn.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think? How do you think that's going to go? Do you think the Saints can do anything about that burning abyss?
I grew up a devout Roman Catholic, and it's really hard for me to go against that upbringing, and so my gut says St. Francis is going to take it over Auburn.
Okay, that's a bold statement. Auburn, I believe Auburn is ranked number 1 overall as well, and you're saying that St. Francis is gonna use the power of God. They're gonna overcome that abyss. They're
gonna overcome that flaming devil pit. But the reason is there's a curse that they say in the NCAA in March Madness. The number 1 seed never wins. They never have historically, not once.
That's the number 1 curse.
Yeah, that's the number 1 curse I'm talking about. So Auburn being the number 1 seed, we know they're not going to win. The question is, when are they going to lose? And I'm going to say first round.
All right. You know what? Yeah. I cannot argue with that logic. Yeah. I completely agree.
St. Francis is going to take it.
St. Francis is going to take it.
Mm-hmm. Hit me with the next one, I guess.
Okay, the next one we have Louisville versus Creighton. The Creighton Crawdads.
The Creighton Crawdads against Louisville?
Louisville. Some sort of French.
I think
French
Ville
school.
Meaning city in French. So this is some kind of a city, probably like a city school, inner city school, high school maybe. I'm not entirely sure how the NCAA works.
But I think it's a competition that the city has for the best 5 basketballers. They fight it out. It's like a battle royale. The last 5 people standing go on.
So they don't
to
actually
compete
play
in the March
basketball
Madness.
For the competition. They just pick whoever can fight the best.
Yeah, they pick the best fighters, and those tend to be the best basketball players.
Yeah.
I mean, they're ranked number 8 in this. I don't know what the 4 East, West, South, are they divisions? Are they groups? Nobody really knows for sure.
Nobody really knows. They're cardinal
I'm going to call it
directions.
the section.
Yeah, South section.
Yeah,
South
whatever.
Side.
Yeah, so they made it up to number 8, which is pretty respectable for this section.
That is respectable for a bunch of nobodies from Louis City. From Louis City.
But here's the thing. We're coming up against the Creighton Crawdads.
And the Creighton Crawdads, they got that old country strength. corn-fed
That old
American
country
boys.
strength. They pinch real good. They pinch real hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes they pop the ball, and then they can grab the ball with.
You're
and just
telling
kinda
me these
toss
are a
it.
bunch of big lobster guys?
I'm telling you, these are the Creighton Crawdads, and they're a bunch of big lobster
Who let
guys.
these guys go to school? I guess
think
it's
it was
not
Joe
for me to
Biden.
decide.
I think it was Joe Biden. I believe that was during his era. He allowed. This is the first time they've made it to the tournament.
Hey, more power to him. That's the American dream in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. When the Crawdads can make it to the NCAA March Madness.
Oh yeah. And now they have big, thick shells, and that's why.
Yeah. And if you think about it, all these guys in Lewis's city, they're going to be pretty beat up from having to fight to the death in order to make it to the tournament. So I don't want to call this one, I feel like it's your turn to call one, but
I think we're both on the same page. It's got to be the Creighton Crawdads.
And there's no way that these injured boys from Lewis City are going to be able to pierce the impenetrable shells of the Creighton Crawdads.
No, there's just no way.
There's no way. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're on the same page about that one because we were going to fight about that one, I think.
I thought that was going to go in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess moving on, we have Michigan versus San Diego.
San Diego?
San Diego?
Is like an emote. It's like it's like, ugh.
Ugh, San Diego.
Ugh, San Diego. Yeah, so this is like the gross, swampy parts of San Diego.
Oh, geez.
That's where they're from. Yeah, they grew up.
It's hard to bounce a basketball in there.
It is. It just splooshes and sticks down in the muck. And so it's really hard to, it's hard to imagine how the San Diego team has even been able to prepare for a game like this, especially against a team like Michigan.
Well, fun fact, all of San Diego's games leading up to the tournament ended in a tie because nobody could bounce the basketball in the big swamp.
They have home field advantage on every game?
Well, they just bring the swamp with them to the games.
They're that gross.
Yeah, they're a bunch of gross. I don't even know what you'd want to call it.
Yeah,
but they're gross, and that's the thing. Like they're undefeated technically.
They also haven't won a game.
They haven't won a game, but that was enough to get them into the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
The question.
I'll tell you what,
question is,
I won't be attending any of those games.
Oh no,
Yeah.
you do not. You get some of that on you, and you are done.
You got to burn everything that you were wearing.
Yeah.
To that game.
Yeah.
But I just, I don't know that the Michigan Melons have prepared to play in that kind of environment.
No, melons don't grow that well in the
Nothing grows in the including basketball players, which is why they're all sub 4 feet tall. But they splash around in there, they get all in it, and it's just
it's like quicksand.
Yeah,
they go down
they
and
grab your ankles.
Yeah,
it's a tough game.
I don't see a world in which the Melons get a point against UC.
No.
So the question is, will UC get a point? And I don't think they will either.
They have failed to get a point thus far in the history of their program.
So here's the thing. I think it's going to come down to, the game is going to last like up until the second round. Okay. It's going to last like a whole week or so.
Yeah.
And
they're just going to call it right before the second game starts.
I think they're just going to do a coin flip. I think the ref is just going to say, I'm tired. of like sloshing around in this uck.
Yeah.
And we're gonna call it a coin flip. Now, the thing is, when they flip the coin, it's gonna fall into the uck, and I think the uck is gonna use that to their advantage. They're gonna flip it to heads.
They're gonna have a guy down there turning the coin. So I think honestly, I can't even call it cheating because what it is strategy, and the endurance on those boys in uck is just something else. So you know, for effort and for taking advantage of a technicality, we got to give it to uck.
We got to give it to uck. Yeah. And I just thinking about uck now, I don't know how anybody is going to compete with that.
It's
like
tough.
Because they're going to bring it down to the coin flip every time unless somebody is able to get a point.
Yeah. But so you got to be watching film if you're playing uck, or you anticipate you might be playing uck next year or next week. You got to be watching film. You got to be keeping track of these boys. See where are they in the uck, because they're crawling around under the swamp with in the basketball court. So it's a lot. It's a lot for any team to have to deal with. But we'll see.
We'll see. So moving on, we have Texas A&M against Yale.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Texas A&M, that's just two guys, right? Alex and Michael?
Yes. Alex and Michael, yes.
Yeah.
They're two guys. They're twins. Yeah. They love the sport of basketball. And they're always in sync, okay? They're and you can never tell which one is which. They're moving around so fast. Yeah. They're from Texas.
Yeah.
They might have a gun on them. Nobody knows for sure.
They probably do. I have read reports that in previous games, players have left with mysterious gunshot wounds. But the thing is they're so quick on the draw that like even the high-speed camera can't catch them. You might just see Alex just twitch, and then a player falls down with a bullet in their Achilles, and it's and they take him in, and sports medicine, whatever. Like they don't prepare for bullets, which is it's tough to play a team like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Brings guns.
It is tough. It's tough, but they're so fast. You'd think it would get called by the referee, but they're really quick, and you can't tell which is which. So
who do we call the foul on?
Who do we call the foul on? Like, do they have a gun? Like, oh, this guy doesn't have a gun, and all of a sudden the other guy's got two guns. It's like
they're passing the guns around. You can never find the guns, and so referees a long time ago just stopped even trying to call fouls on them because you can never find a gun.
Now, what do you think about Yale?
Well, it is the first time that they've allowed a Peruvian team into the NCAA tournament. And so I want to root for them just because it's the first time, it's a historic moment for Yale, but I just don't know if they're prepared. I mean, playing high in the Peruvian mountains may be one thing, but when you go up first round against Alex and Michael, like it's a big ask.
I think they're so used to being up in the mountains, which is really high up, which is where the basketball hoop is. They can just drop it in.
Yeah.
Okay. And when they come down to solid ground in Florida against Alex and Michael, they're going to be like, why is that a hoop so high up? And
that's the
it's
one
just
going to
be a culture
shock. This will be a culture shock, and they're not going to know. They're not going to know how to handle something that high up. Being from Texas, you're largely like sea level or just above, and so dealing with just the altitude is going to be tough on Alex and Michael.
Oh yeah. They have never breathed full air before.
No, just sandy dirt air.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, this might be a toss-up between these two, but I mean, you can make the final call.
I think because Yale is not used to these conditions. They're going to think the basketball hoop is too high. They're going to be complaining the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
I think Alex and Michael are just going to run a train over them.
Yeah.
And
think you might be right.
I hate it because I love when the international teams get into March Madness. It's really great to see.
It is.
But yeah, I think we're going to have to give it to Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think you're right. Which is, people that are paying attention, you might note that this is the first time that we picked a team that's favored, like overall.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But that's why they pay us the big bucks for stuff like this.
Yeah, I think because there's only 2 players on that team, they're not going to let it go to their head like the other teams will.
Less moving parts, less cooks in the kitchen, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, so they're gonna be able to be decisive, in sync, and they're gonna shoot the other team with their guns.
Yeah, and maybe shoot a couple baskets too.
Hey, nice one. And
yeah,
that brings us on to
Ole Miss.
Ole
Miss against San Diego State or North Carolina.
Or North Carolina. Oh, is this going to be another coin flip situation?
Yeah, that's another coin flip situation. For the sake, should we just go through that coin flip? Who do you think's going to win that one?
Well, airplanes were invented in North Carolina.
What's that?
Airplanes were invented there in North Carolina.
Oh, right.
And so
if you're soaring, you're dunking.
You're dunking. So I got to give that to North Carolina, I think.
All right. Nice. I completely agree. But now let's talk about Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Now, correct me. That's a very old hound dog, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
6,000 years old.
Yeah.
The
And
first hound dog that ever. 12,000 pounds. Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
The thing about Ole Miss, she's never missed a shot.
Never. Well, she barely has to try.
She barely has to try. She just drops that bad ball in the net.
The amount of slobber that leaves the Ole Miss's haunches. It's honestly not dissimilar from an UC San Diego game.
It rivals the UC.
The texture
I'd love to see that matchup.
Court. Oh, that would be something to see. I would love to see that matchup. But yeah, Ole Miss is going to be a tough game to beat. I don't know what North Carolina is bringing to the table here, but
man, I mean, they'll be flying their planes right into Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to phase her. She's just too big. She's too wise.
That's an interesting thing about Ole Miss every year in this tournament is that most of these basketball teams, they cycle with, college athletes or graduating school or moving on to another league but Ole Miss has been around so long that we've seen the same player for thousands of years in this tournament. And so
since the beginning of the tournament,
we know
she's been there.
And she doesn't change tactics. She's never had to.
Nope.
So we know what she's bringing to the table, and we know that. I mean, we saw her the last time that she played North Carolina, and the way that she just batted the airplanes out of the skies.
Right. I remember back in 1496, we saw Ole Miss win the championship for the 97th time, and that was a bit like. The thing is, Ole Miss knows what it takes to be a champion.
Mm-hmm. And that was before North Carolina had made airplanes.
Right.
So they were just guys with a basketball at that time.
Right. And
which
that
is the last thing you want to be in a tournament like this.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the wisdom of just knowing the whole airplane process from start to finish, I think Ole Miss has done her research, has lived that research.
Yeah.
And
I think we both know where this is going to fall.
I think she's just too old and too wise to lose.
Ole Miss, and I don't want to make any calls before we're still in the first round, but I could see Ole Miss getting pretty far in this tournament.
Oh yeah, actually, fun fact, she's never lost in the first round.
Really?
So like, I don't think it's gonna happen this year. I think she's just too dang wise.
Question:
and too
has she
old.
ever lost at all?
She has lost. I think we'll get to some of the teams later that she's lost to, but it's not often.
Not often.
I'll tell you that much.
And never
it's
by
often.
much. Yeah.
Never by much.
All right. So this next one's an interesting matchup.
Mm-hmm. You want me to read it off?
I'm kind of curious where you're going to go with one of these names.
All right. We've got Iowa State versus the Lipscomb.
Yeah. The Lipscomb.
The Lipscomb.
They're always a competitor, and they're always weirdly sensual about it. It's the fucked up thing about the games when you see the Lipscomb is that
Lipscomb.
They don't stop with the opposing team. They go up in the stands.
No, they don't allow children at those games.
No,
that's the one thing about the Lipscomb is don't take your kids to those games.
No,
and you'd think that lips don't need a comb, but there's a gap between your lips, and that's where it fits right in. That's the Lipscomb
right through there, and man,
it swipes, and man, I mean. I've seen what the Lipscomb can do, and what they've done.
Don't tell me up close. You've been to a Lipscomb game? Okay.
I would never go to a Lipscomb game. I'll tell you that much. But I've heard from people who have been to those games, and I've seen their lips
sick
after
fucks,
it.
Those people that go to those games, sick bastards. I don't associate with them.
No.
And, I hate to be Iowa Street right now.
Yeah, Iowa Street, like, the thing is, they have corn.
And that's big.
That's big, but the Lipscomb the lips are sort of designed to devour corn, and the comb is designed to devour the lips.
Of its enemies. And so I think Iowa Street's going to leave this game with no lips and no corn. And with one big L.
And that L stands for lips.
That L stands for lips. We're giving this,
all right.
The number 14 is going to just demolish the number 3 seed in that one.
Yeah, it's just when you have a comb that touches that many lips, there's not much you can do about it.
The implication of the disease is that if you ran a comb over every pair of lips in a coliseum, all those people are getting sick.
Yeah.
And so even if Iowa was able to beat Lipscomb, they would be out the next game just because they would all be too sick. Yeah.
Now, you might wonder why the Lipscomb is 14th seed. You might wonder, why wasn't it first? It has so many diseases. It's because of the amount of lawsuits and that have surrounded the Lipscomb in the past. Just with the disease and with the amount of lips that it touches and the lack of consent.
Well, when the American, criminal justice system gets involved in the NCAA, there's implications to that, but also they actually, there's a new rule, not that new of a rule, but basically for every lawsuit that comes up against you after a game, they subtract a 3-pointer. And so you lose 3 points for every lawsuit. And if you're doing something like that, if you're touching that many lips, you're going to see a lot of lawsuits. And so that's how you see a team like that, a number 14 seed.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a match of the Lipscomb versus itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can it tone it down enough to handle the Iowa Street Corn? And I think when it comes to the tournament, I think they can do it, at least in the first round.
What it is mental toughness, and it's staying on top of your players and making sure that they're playing a clean game, to the best of their ability, being from Lipscomb.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think later in the tournament we get, the sort of horny factor of the Lipscomb might come through and might cause to lose
problems,
a game. But I think in the first round they're a strong enough team.
They're going to be well rested. They're gonna come out swinging and kissing, and it's going to be a mess.
They're only going to need a few kisses to do the job. I think when it comes to Iowa.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to put Lipscomb over Iowa State in the first, Iowa Street, my mistake, in the first round. If we look at the next round, I got to be honest, D-Hay, I didn't know they made a new Mexico. I'm only familiar with the old one, or I should say, just the main one.
Oh. Is that right? Are they... Okay. Is this like a Trump thing? Like... was he trying to make a new,
it could have been
make a new Mexico?
He's been doing all kinds of stuff. Maybe he got sick of the old one, made a new one, hoping they would pay for.
Because I don't see Mexico in the bracket, which is strange. They usually make it in.
They're usually the only international team. No, it looks like they were removed in favor for the new one, or maybe they're rebranding. Okay. Maybe it's a big sort of rebranding exercise, and they're just New Mexico now, as opposed to OG Mexico or Maine Mexico.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's nice for them.
Mm-hmm.
Going?
I don't know how it's going to reflect, especially the first round they're playing. My understanding is this is a pen used for drawing caricatures, and something like it's a pen you buy. It's a pen you can buy for drawing pictures, professionally, and that's. I don't know how that really reflects into a basketball game. You know what might be happening is this may be a sponsorship thing. This game is confusing to me, this matchup, because New Mexico, obviously young team, new team, we don't know much about them. And then I don't know what Marquette was called before the Marquette brand markers purchased this team and renamed them. So, this could be Alabama. I don't know what team this is hiding behind the mask of Marquette brand markers.
A sort of the Marquette mask.
Yes.
Like a sort of mask team, like a mystery team, the Marquette Mystery.
The Marquette Mysteries.
Yeah, that's interesting, because usually which teams are going to play at which time, so you can support your favorite teams.
Yeah.
In this case, New Mexico is going to have a tough time because they don't know their opponents, and yet Marquette is probably preparing for the old Mexico, and they're not going to know this new one's tricks.
No. Yeah. No. So it's, and again, we don't know who's behind there. We don't know who's behind these masks. This could be anybody. I mean,
could be LeBron.
It could be LeBron. It could be all those guys. Kobe?
Mhm. It's not Kobe because of the next game, but we'll get to that in a second.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Um,
Yeah, so, this one, to me, total toss-up.
yeah.
I don't know who
Honestly,
pulls it out of this
I
one.
hate this game.
I
hate this
game
one.
too. This one sucks.
This one sucks. I don't want to watch this game.
I'm not going to watch this one.
Marquette, New Mexico. Who gives a shit?
Who fucking cares?
Okay.
I'm going to close my eyes and click one.
Okay, yeah.
The Marquette Masks win.
All right, the Marquette Mask win. Who cares?
No one cares. Okay.
All right.
No, now we have Michigan Street and
The Michigan Mandarins.
the oranges.
The Michigan Mandarin Oranges.
Okay. Mandarin oranges grow naturally in Michigan. Little known fact.
Yeah.
They like colder climates.
Against Kobe Bryant.
Just Kobe.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you might be thinking, didn't he pass away recently?
That is what I was thinking.
This is his ghost.
The ghost of Kobe Bryant.
This is the ghost of Kobe Bryant.
That's an X factor I did not consider. Wow.
Yeah.
I really feel like they're selling him short at the number 15 seed. This is the the ghost of the late great Kobe Bryant, the Mamba.
Mm-hmm.
This is
the ghost of the goat.
The ghost of the goat is what we're calling him. So why do you think he's at a 15 seed for this one?
Because the ball just passes right through him.
Oh, he can't touch the basketball.
He can't touch the basketball.
Dang.
So he has to possess people. And
he's bad at picking.
He's so good at basketball. Don't get me wrong.
Good. But he
picks these like children
and
of celebrities that are in the front row. And they just they trip on their dumb feet and they can't, because he's so used to having big strong muscles and being able to dunk good. But then he chooses a 5-year-old child of Elon Musk, and it's that's not
and they
the
just
best
get run
choice.
over. Yeah, man.
They just get run over.
That's a real shame. I could see that being a problem for Kobe. I mean, he made it this far to be in the tournament, and that's huge, but can he beat the Mandarin Oranges? I mean, it's just going to come down to who attends this game,
Yeah.
I mean, what if Steph Curry happens to be at this one and he accidentally possesses Steph Curry, because we know that he'd be going for the hot dog guy.
Yeah. I think so it's people from Michigan and Kobe Bryant's friends and family will be there.
Yeah.
So
we could look into Kobe Bryant's friends and family and see if there's anybody that might be at the game that would be a worthwhile pick to play against the Mandarin Oranges.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't think anybody in Michigan really plays basketball that good that's worth a possession.
No, I don't think so.
I think if Kobe got his dad.
If Kobe's dad is there.
Yeah. The question is he going to be busy that day?
Do you have his schedule?
I don't have his schedule on me.
He has doctor's appointments and stuff. He's also taking a swing dance class.
Ooh, yeah. And it's just the first round. He might
skip it. Yeah.
He might skip it. because it's not like one of the most exciting games.
So here's a question I'm not sure anyone's brought up. Are we sure? Are we sure Kobe's ghost is there? Because you can't see him, and sometimes people just wander onto the court and start playing. Are we sure that it's Kobe's ghost?
You know, you are asking the right questions. We all just assume because seems like the logical thing. No team shows up.
Yeah.
And a young boy usually just like comes up and starts taking yeah. And we assume that's Kobe's ghost.
Yeah. But do we know for sure?
I don't think we know for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we know for sure. With all the uncertainties surrounding it, I don't really know what the right call is here.
Yeah, I think just because the Mandarin Oranges are going to show up with a team
and be a basketball team,
that might be enough to just win by forfeit because another team doesn't show up.
Yeah. I think by forfeit, we're going to have to, and I'm sorry, Kobe.
I'm sorry.
Ghost of the GOAT, obviously, but I think Michigan Street has to take this one.
Yeah. All right. Next up.
Oh, we're in the Western, what did we call zone?
Yep. The Western Territory.
Western Territory.
All right. We got Florida.
Which, as we all know, is in the West.
Which is, yeah.
Is this Western Florida?
This is Western Florida.
Okay, cool.
Against Norfolk State.
Okay.
Which I don't know much about geometry, but Norfolk doesn't ring a bell as a state.
Yeah.
To me.
Geometrically speaking, I don't think Norfolk is a state. Is this an accident, or did they maybe sneak onto the bracket? This has been known to happen.
Yeah. They just squeaked in at 16th seed in the Western Territory.
Yeah. And I am, I don't know what you see on your bracket, but mine is giving me totally arbitrary percentages. I don't know what these percentages mean, but it is in this matchup. Norfolk has a 1% next to it, whereas Florida has the remaining 99%. And I don't know what that's supposed to mean or like the implications of that, but 99 is a bigger number.
Yeah, I was just thinking 1% is like a type of milk you can buy.
Oh yeah. Like 1%.
99%. They don't usually sell that, so
I feel like 99% reduced fat milk is cloudy water. Barely cloudy water.
And the 1% milk sounds better than cloudy water.
Yeah. I would prefer that over like really faintly milky water. But and what?
I was just gonna say, the Norfolk are, it's a wonderful culture, the Norfolk.
Yeah,
they have their folk dances, and
it's short for Northern folk. So these are just people from the north, like Vikings almost.
Yes. Yeah. They're kind of known for their mystical rhymes,
riddles
that they tell.
Yeah.
And the Norfolk they're crafty.
I mean, they snuck into this tournament, and I don't condone it. I'll never condone that. But
I wonder if they killed a team to get in here.
have been known to do that, haven't they?
And they took like a real state, like, you know, like Alabama or Georgia, and they killed it, and then they took that state like name.
I think, are both of those teams also in the tournament?
I think they're in the tournament. I don't know. Maybe like Alaska. Like, I don't know if they're in the tournament. I wonder if they took their spot
because they live up there.
Yeah, because that's how they got it.
The North folk, and they killed the Alaskan team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, they had to get the uniforms somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, I guess, will they be able to beat Flo Rida, the rapper?
Well, so it sort of comes down to Flo Rida's raps against the Norfolk's mystical rhymes.
It'll be a test of wits and riddles, yeah. And you know, both of them known wordsmiths. And it's going to come down to a test of wits.
Yeah. The mystical rhymes have a lot of power, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
They're sort of known for opening portals and changing things.
Transforming into various animals.
Transfiguration. Yeah. Turning animals
into plants.
Different into plants, and
they turn animals into houses and animals into parking meters. They just turn animals into all kinds of stuff.
Which, it's like, what can they turn a basketball into?
A parrot.
A parrot that can dunk itself could be a powerful tool.
That's a powerful tool. And I don't know what Flo Rida brings to the table.
I think it comes down to, can he convince that parrot? Is who can convince that parrot to go in which hoop?
That's true, because once the basketball is a parrot, you know, balls in the air, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And if Flo Rida, I feel like we're selling him short a little bit here.
A great rapper.
Yeah.
Does he have the charisma to win over the parrot?
Can we get a Flo Rida charisma check?
Do you have a D20 on you?
I do. Yeah, maybe grab it.
Okay, I say we roll a Flo Rida charisma check on the parrot.
Okay.
What do you think what do you think he needs?
Okay, so yeah, what's
I think
the
he
DC?
I think he needs a 15.
A 15.
But he has some charisma, like, stats. Like, I think he has a +3 to charisma.
I would say, yeah. I mean, he's a bard. Bards usually roll with a lot of charisma. I might even give him a +4 because he's a very well-known, renowned bard.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the DC, do you think?
I would say 15. I think it's tough to convince a parrot that was created by the mystical rhymes of the Norfolk.
Okay, DC 15. So that he needs at least an 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know if you can see that, but that is an 18.
Holy shit! He convinced the other team's parrot to fly in their own hoop.
And that is going to seal the deal for Flo Rida.
Flo Rida.
Round 1 in the West.
Insane,
dude.
And that's the first charisma check that was passed in this whole tournament.
Yeah, I think.
Incredible.
Yeah. Maybe in March Madness history, but I can't, I'm not here taking stats.
Mm-hmm. Dang. Incredible game.
Incredible.
Too.
I'm sure it was. That's a game I would want to be at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. We got UConn versus Oklahoma.
So something I'm noticing about this Western territory is that, I mean, the Yukon is a freezing, desolate climate in the Western territory. So how do you take some guys from Oklahoma, hot state for the most part, and send them to a place like that? How do you expect them to survive in a climate like that? And this isn't even a basketball game. They just have to go up there and survive for a week, and if they make it, they go to round 2. This was kind of a curveball that they threw in this year.
Yeah, this is an interesting round. Oklahoma, when I think about it, I think about the panhandle. I think about the pan that it is.
It is a pan.
I think they're thinking about their pans. And they're probably bringing a pan to boil water, to stay warm in the Yukon.
Yeah.
Can they build a fire?
I'm thinking what they're probably going to have to do is befriend an Eskimo tribe and hope that they can trade a pan for some kind of food or perhaps to sit by a fire and last a week. But if they can't navigate to find an Eskimo tribe, I just don't see them winning this basketball game.
I gotta be honest. I wasn't paying attention for a quick second until you started talking about Eskimos and the basketball game.
Yeah. So if Oklahoma can't navigate the Yukon and track down a tribe of Eskimos, I don't think they're gonna win this basketball game. That's all. I'm saying.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Who? I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't. I think the vastness of the Yukon and there aren't that many Eskimos to be found there.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tough, even if they find them, to chase them down and defeat them.
Yeah, I think it was more trade and befriend, trade their pans, because they're gonna bring a lot of hex-clad pans with them.
Right, they're gonna need their own charisma check to deal with that, and that without a nat 20, I don't know what they would do. I'm gonna just call it and say the UConn's gonna take this one.
Yeah, I think that's an easy choice. Man, this round 1 is a doozy.
This is a doozy.
It's been an hour and we are not through the second territory.
All right, Memphis versus Colorado.
Okay, so we're talking mountains versus molehills here.
Mm-hmm.
And
is there any more to say?
That's a big versus small.
Yeah. Now,
I just think it's pretty clear.
The Memphis moles can dig through a mountain.
Strong claws, powerful claws.
Strong claws.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're so much smaller,
they're
tricky.
Get up in there.
They can get up in there. Yeah. They can hide the ball in the mountain.
Mm-hmm. And then you won't even be able to find it.
You won't be able to find it till the last second. They do one dunk, win 2-0.
Win 2-0, you think?
Yeah.
Man, the Memphis Moles, pulling it out over Colorado State. You know, the thing about Colorado State is that those mountains, not that impressive. People are always talking big about Colorado's mountains, dude. I'll tell you one thing.
Dude.
Being from the East Coast, growing up in Appalachian territory, you might have tall, pretty mountains, but listen,
not as big as ours.
Not as big as ours. Not as cool as ours. Green. Heard of it?
Ooh. Yeah. We don't always got snow covering our beautiful mountains.
We like our trees.
We like our mounds,
the colors of our trees. We like the stuff that goes on in those trees. Yeah. We like the mystery of it all. Nothing to hide up there in Colorado.
Right. Yeah, and when you got mountains with trees on top, that's so much bigger than your mountains, Colorado.
That adds so much extra height. They got nothing on the. Maybe I'm a little biased on this one, but I'm easily giving this to Memphis.
Well, yeah, I am too, and that's lucky for Colorado because they could potentially be coming up against either Maryland or the Grand Canyon,
and that's a big hole.
That's a big hole.
There's very few teams that can compete with a hole like that. And, talking about bias, I will say I was biased biased against Colorado in the last round. But in this round, being a Maryland boy myself, it's going to be hard not to root for that team.
Yeah. The thing is, what could Maryland do to either fill up the hole or get around the hole that is the Grand Canyon?
Let me do some quick math here real quick, okay?
Okay.
So if we think about the Grand Canyon, in fact, I'm not going to do math. I'm just going to chat GPT this.
Okay.
So the question I'm trying to figure out, Maryland, if you look at it on a map, it is defined by the Chesapeake Bay, a big body of water. So can the amount of water in the Chesapeake Bay fill the Grand Canyon? And if it can, I think that's a game that decides this victory, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. I think Maryland's going to use the Chesapeake Bay to its advantage for sure.
How much water is in the Chesapeake Bay? 18 trillion gallons of water.
18 trillion gallons. That's a lot of water at our disposal.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's find out, dude.
I have a feeling the Grand Canyon's too big, but...
You were going to say too big.
Too big? How big's the Grand Canyon?
Okay, so I only read the first sentence, and I was like, oh, dude... We got this in the bag. Yeah. I was mistaken. So the Grand Canyon already has like 5.5 trillion cubic yards of water. But it would take about 1.1 quadrillion gallons to actually fill it to the top. And so, we wouldn't need a bay, more like an ocean.
Now, I will say the Chesapeake Bay is connected to the ocean.
So how much
would it be unfair to say that Maryland has the ocean at its disposal? Now this might be my Maryland bias coming through, but I think that Maryland has the ocean at its disposal.
Has Poseidon spoken on this? Has he taken a team and what's his bracket look like? Because he definitely, if he could lend some of his might to Maryland in this tournament, then we're beating the Grand Canyon in this game.
Well, what do we know about Poseidon? He has a trident. He's tall. He can probably dunk.
Good beard.
He has a beard.
He wears a lot of scales.
In his
fashion attire.
He has friends that are fish.
Maryland has a lot of those.
Maryland has a lot of fish, and we can't not talk about crabs.
That's true. That's
and how
kind of
they're
our
going to
whole thing.
factor in.
Honestly, if you think about all the states, we might be the most oceanic themed state.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have more coastline than most states.
Yeah.
My gut is that Poseidon's going with Maryland on this one.
I think that Maryland, at least for this game, is going to have the entire ocean at its disposal.
Yeah.
It's going to fill up the Grand Canyon, and they're going to swim on down and dunk that basketball.
Let me just do some quick math. Okay, yeah. So we have about 352 quintillion gallons of water at our disposal here.
Dude, we have so much water to use.
That's about 1.33 sextillion liters.
Oh my God.
Or 310 million cubic miles. I think we're going to be fine.
I think we are.
All right, so Maryland takes that game handedly.
Moving on.
Missouri?
We have Misery versus Drake, the rapper.
That's a fight Drake's been fighting a long time.
Yeah, it is.
The question is, since the Super Bowl halftime show, has he made any headway in this fight, or is he still knee-deep in misery?
I have not heard from Drake in a long time.
Yeah.
I think he's still feeling
He's just in the throes.
the after effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's still feeling misery. I think if Misery, the basketball team, comes up against him in the first round, I think it's sort of unfair. They have an unfair advantage. This matchup, it sucks for Drake.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. It just sucks that he had to be placed against this specific team. He maybe could have dealt with 5 quintillion gallons of water. I don't know. But I don't think he can deal with the misery in his own mind.
Yeah. No.
This game is just going to be Drake on a basketball court struggling with depression.
just struggling.
And he's going to be so miserable.
Yeah.
He's just going to want to get out of the tournament. He's going to want to end it.
He won't even want to win.
Yeah. He dunks the basketball in his own hoop and just leaves.
And misery takes the W.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that's an obvious one.
We hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
What are you going to do? That's ball.
That's ball, dude. That's basketball for you. You can't argue with it. So this next one, actually, old friend, well, more like foe of the channel, Tech9 actually bought a college and has a team in the game, in the tournament here. So, as we all know, Tech9 from Texas, also a big tech guy, named his school Texas Tech, and there he is.
Yep. And he's coming up against the United Nations.
Oh, my God. What did he do?
Of Central
Wilmington. He's the United Nations of Central Wilmington. So this is a collection of small villages in Wilmington.
Yeah, it's more of a club in Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah.
They get together, they read books.
And Tech9's team is well funded. These are all 8th year seniors he has paid to remain in college. They should all be in the NBA. But he's paid them so much money to stay and fight.
And because Tech9 is so technologically advanced, he's sort of bioengineered these these young boys. They've got cybernetic arms. They can see like 20 miles.
In perfect 8K vision.
Perfect 8K. And all of their movements are streamed.
Yeah.
To Twitch.
So this will
So
be.
it's a fun game. It's a fun game to watch.
Yeah, you can
and
control
the crowd
every
is going to
camera.
be on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crowd's going to be on their side for sure.
For sure, yeah. And every influencer you can name is invited and guest listed to this game. So it's going to be an event for sure.
The problem is, well, I just hate what this is going to do to Wilmington.
Wilmington doesn't have much.
They don't have much, and they're going to be cyberbullied into extinction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never going to end for Wilmington. It's already started in the tournament. I mean, like you were reading articles about the throes of depression that the Wilmington players are in because of the sheer amount of cyberbullying that's happening to them and their families.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to, hand a victory over for something I would consider dirty basketball.
Right.
But, you can't argue with facts. I think just the psychological trauma that Tech 9 is doing even before the game begins,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you have these boys with sort of jet propulsion built in to their legs, like,
once the game starts, I mean, you never know. But
yeah,
I mean, we're talking about, the point guard is a father of three from Wilmington, Delaware. He's been, he played basketball in high school, but he's not, he's had some knee surgeries.
Yeah, it's tough because they don't have many people to pick from. Mm-hmm. It's more of like a volunteer thing.
Yeah.
And it's nice that they had 5 people that were willing to volunteer. Yeah. But I just hate what it's going to do to that town.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'm going to continue to never go to Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty clear that Tech 9 and his Texas Warriors are going to take that one.
Yeah. Now, next game is interesting.
Okay.
We have Kansas versus Arkansas.
So, Kansas versus yours and my Kansas?
Kansas versus Arkansas.
Yeah.
I think it's like a...
like an archangel? Like Kansas versus like Super Kansas?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I think this is just an improved... This is sort of Kansas against itself, but like a higher version of itself.
Wow. Like an enlightened version.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like in Zelda 2 when you're battling Shadow Link.
Okay.
And it's like,
I get it.
But this is like a being of light.
Interesting.
And it's like you have to deal with your own demons,
So you're facing yourself in 2 ways, sort of. You're literally playing against yourself in a basketball game, but also you have to face, your trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, that seems like a lot for Kansas to deal with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think, they know their own weaknesses. They know what makes them tick,
Right.
So it's possible that they could exploit some of that. But being Kansas, it's possible that they've worked through that trauma and no longer have those weaknesses to be exploited.
Yeah, I think Arkansas is just always going to be a step ahead of Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right.
I don't know. I mean, I would love to see Kansas overcome the perfect version of itself.
It would be something to see, but I don't think it's likely. And, if I'm a betting man.
I don't think Ole Miss has ever seen anything like that happen.
No.
And if she hasn't seen it, I doubt that I'm going to see it in my lifetime.
That's what I'm saying.
So I'm going to give this one to Arkansas.
Arkansas takes it. We have another biblical figure in this next game. Which is all, it's always an interesting game when you have like multiple 100-year-old men playing basketball.
Right.
This is St. John the Baptist playing against Nebraska Omaha. It's just Nebraska, but they're big fans of Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning famously used to shout Omaha all the time. It's just a fun word that he made up. And Nebraska, it's a good word. I can't lie. And so Nebraska kind of just tagged that onto the end of their name. Because it's a cool word. But not a lot going on in Nebraska. And, we're talking like a, right-hand man to Jesus Christ.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And we all know Jesus could ball.
Jesus could ball.
And if you think that anybody in his inner circle has not gone one-on-one with him at some point in their lives, then you are mistaken, because Jesus loved to ball. I think that training is really powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, ball was a different game back in the day, but which I think is going to be in his advantage, because nowadays, like, you have the ref and they're like calling little fouls, and you can't really play the game anymore.
Let them play.
Like back in the day, we could let them play. None of this sissy.
They call stuff out. So St. John is gonna play dirty. But it's just how they're used to playing, So it's going to be a matter of how many fouls can they get away with, before they just hand the game to Nebraska. Because they're going to outscore Nebraska. But if they spend the whole game shooting free throws, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and the thing is, they can get as many fouls as they want, because they'll always be forgiven by Jesus.
Hey, that's a good point.
So, I think there's going to be tons of fouls, tons of forgiveness, and it's going to be a great game to watch. But I don't see how St. John the Baptist doesn't win this one.
Yeah, he's gonna. I was waiting for it. He's gonna take this game handedly.
Yeah,
and that wraps up the Western Territories.
All right, where are we heading to next?
The Eastern Seaboard.
Oh yeah. Dookie.
This is the album by Green Day.
Oh yeah.
But they're playing an active volcano.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm seeing on my sheet it's either American or Mount St. Mary's. The active volcano.
This is that coin toss thing again. So
yeah, I think obviously the coin's going to go in the volcano. If the volcano doesn't like the result, it spits it right back out. It gets a new result. So I think the Mount is going to take this one.
Mount's going to take it. Easy win. Okay, back down to the Eastern Seaboard.
Now, Dookie.
Yeah, good.
Green Day.
Great album. Put them on the map.
Great album. What is it? Basket case on that one?
Yeah, dude, it put them on the map. It was like
That's When I Come Around.
Yeah.
Welcome to Paradise.
A lot of great tracks on that album.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I don't see, but I guess the question is, could you throw 5 copies of Dookie on CD copies of Dookie into an active volcano, and would they still be playable?
Ooh. I don't think they would.
Mostly plastic, melts in a volcano.
Melts in a volcano.
That's tough, and I don't want to discount how good the album is. Good
The album's great.
Yeah, very good album. Yeah.
An active volcano.
If we could real quick, we could talk about these percentages again that I'm seeing on mine for some reason.
Okay.
So there's 1%. Duke has 100, which is a big number. So maybe what we should be talking about is 100 copies of Dookie, and then next to next to the volcano is just a zero. It's just an O, which is just the mouth of the volcano.
The mouth of the volcano, right. Exactly. I don't think it matters how many copies of Dookie you throw in the volcano, though. I mean. Yeah. It makes sense to sort of balance things out that you'd want to throw in more copies. Mm-hmm. But I think the volcano it's a volcano. It's just gonna melt. It's just gonna add more lava.
Yeah. The Dookie kind of become. Hey, that's an interesting question though, because when you put Dookie, the album by Green Day, if you put it into a volcano and it melts, it just assimilates and becomes lava.
Oh, so are you saying they could take over the volcano?
Sort of from the inside. Because you throw a rock in a volcano, rock melts, it becomes lava. Just like the rest of the volcano. So I guess really the question is, how many copies of Dookie would you have to throw into the volcano for the ratio to shift from, all lava to, some person, like 51% Dookie lava?
I think surely that album's gone platinum. If you took all of them, maybe. But if they're saying just 100... I just don't see it. If they think that 100 is enough,
I don't think
to shift the volcano.
Volcanoes are big. I mean, it's a mountain. I am seeing that the Green Day sold over 200 million copies worldwide. So 200 million copies of Dookie.
Okay.
Is that enough to shift the ratio into
that might
Dookie's
be enough?
Favor? Yeah.
Do you think they'll have that?
I mean, I still have my copy.
Yeah, I have my copies, and they're not throwing that in. I love that copy.
That's a good point. I think you'd have to rely on people giving up their copies of Dookie by Green Day.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to go on some sort of campaign to get people to throw, everybody to throw in their copies in the volcano.
Yeah. And
I just think the album is too good. That they're not going to want to do that.
Honestly, though, streaming platforms have I haven't put that CD in I don't even own a CD player. You know, I mean, I'll listen to Dookie on Spotify, Apple Music, but the CD just kind of taking up space. You know what I'm saying? So I think I could be convinced. I wouldn't want to. I mean, it's a nostalgic album for me. I wouldn't want to get rid of it, but. It's a little wasteful if I can use it for a good cause.
Right. If you throw them all in the volcano too early in the tournament, yes, you might be able to beat the volcano.
Yeah.
But are you going to be able to win in the next round?
I think you'd kind of be putting all your cards into round one. And I mean, we can look ahead and see, next round they would be playing either Mississippi or the Baylor Big Boys. And, oh, man.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but we got to stick with this game. Round two is round two,
I mean, what do you think? Do you think that they're going to be able to muster up enough people to throw in Dookie into this volcano to turn it into their... I mean, well, if they turn it into their volcano, then I guess they have the volcano for the next round.
That's a good point I didn't consider.
So then there would be no reason not to throw everything in the volcano.
Yeah, because they might sweep at that point.
And Green Day fans are going to want this dub.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it'd be the last big accolade for a record that came out in 1994. I mean, you can't win many more awards at this point.
Right.
This would be,
they already won. They already won a Grammy, an Oscar, a Tony. Now they just need to win March Madness.
Yeah. And this, I mean, I mean, you've convinced me now. I mean, would you throw your record in?
I was thinking the Mountain was what had it for sure, but then I mean, I think you kind of convinced me that like they need to throw everything in this Mountain.
You got to give it
not.
everything to win it all.
And I think they will be able to convince people to throw all their copies of Dookie in this Mountain, and then they have the volcano to work with for the rest of the tournament. That's huge.
That's huge, dude. I mean, that might even, again, I don't want to look ahead, but that might even cause a problem for the Baylor Big Boys.
Okay, well, why don't we get to that?
Yeah.
I'm putting Dookie into the next round. I can't believe it, but
yeah.
But there we go. We have
and the
Mississippi.
Fact that, I mean, just one final point about that last round.
Yeah.
Because that volcano already swallowed the entirety of the contiguous United States of America in the first round, or in like the preliminary round. The first four, I should say.
That's true.
And so having eaten an entire country and then thwarted by Dookie by Green Day, I mean, it's just, you can only find this kind of stuff in college basketball.
Yep, it's poetic.
It's poetic.
For sure.
Anyway,
I love it. That's why we love the game.
That's why we love the game. Moving on, game 2 here.
All right, we got Mississippi State versus the Baylor Big Boys. Now, we got to just talk about the Baylor Big Boys.
They have been romping for many moons now. Romping around, stomping around. Just the biggest boys.
The biggest boys that you ever did see. So big.
Yeah.
So much stomping. So much romping.
They say if you and I were to just stop right now and just listen and feel, you could probably feel a little rumble from those Baylor Big Boys wherever they happen to be stomping right now. And
now, let's talk about the Mississippi River.
It's big, but is it big enough?
I'm going to say it's nowhere near big enough.
Those big boys like to get wet.
Yeah. If it was the Mississippi Ocean, then maybe we could talk.
Maybe we could talk about it. But the Baylor Big Boys are going to swim right up that river, and it's going to cause no problem for them at all.
Yeah, if it doesn't just come up to their ankles.
Honestly, yeah.
I mean, they
it's more like a Mississippi puddle for these big boys.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
These boys are just too dang big. Easy round 1 win for the Baylor Big Boys.
Easy. This next one, I mean,
we have the concept of liberty.
I was going to say the concept of liberty, yeah. And being a fan of liberty and freedom, I want to root for them, but the Oregon Ducks.
Oregon Ducks.
Colorful uniforms, colorful personalities.
Oh yeah. I love their star duck.
The big duck.
The big duck.
He retired
Captain
from
Duck.
hockey. And Captain Duck retired from hockey, and now he is back in college, finishing his degree and leading the basketball team into March Madness here. And he's not a fan of liberty and freedom in the American way.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah. And
when he played in that big, Soviet versus American hockey game in the 80s or whatever that was, in the 60s or something, he was rooting for the Reds. Even though he was playing, thankfully for us, his love of the sport of hockey overcame his disdain for freedom and liberty. But in this game, he gets to go face to face with his biggest enemy, which is the concept of liberty.
Right. And I mean, it's like, how strong do you think liberty is in this at this point in time in our nation. You know,
less strong than usual.
I think so. I think, you know, we're not allowed to stand up for the flag anymore because, you know, all these liberals are, and I don't mean to make it political, but all these damn liberals,
I like to call them libcucks.
All these damn libcucks have been taking our liberty away for weeks now. And I'm sick and tired of it.
I've had enough. You know what I say? I say, libcucks, go Ducks, and I give this to Oregon.
It could not have been said better than that. Libcucks, go Ducks.
Akron, Ohio, home of the tire.
Versus Arizona Iced Tea.
Oh, man. Arizona Iced Tea, cheap, easy, breezy, full of sugar, bad for your teeth. Tall. Tires, bouncy. Rubber goes on cars.
Now, let's talk about what's more important for the game of basketball. Tall or bouncy?
Oh, man, that's a toss-up. I think tall is good. Most of them are tall. Some of the best are not that tall, though. Stephen Curry, perfect example, not that tall. You know, you see him walking around, very bouncy. That's his thing. I think bouncy more important than tall in the great game of basketball.
I think so.
So we hand this one to Akron, Ohio, you think?
This one goes to Akron, Ohio.
Jeez.
Ooh. Now we're in the final.
These are just a bunch of letters.
No, we're still in the same. We're still in the same region.
Yeah. Bunch of letters on this one.
Bunch of letters. Bu versus Viku. We have the boiling yaks of the underworld.
Oh my god. I never knew what that meant, and I am terrified of this game.
Yeah. Those yaks are strong.
Tell me what
demonic
continent this game is taking place on, and I will not be on that continent.
The thing is, they have brought every game in the preseason into the underworld.
Oh my god.
Home field advantage for these boiling yaks. And they are hot. They are angry. They are hungry.
And who are they playing?
Oh. They're playing the Violent Cucks United.
An organization of aggressive cuckolds.
Yeah, it's an offshoot of the United Nations. It's where they got all the violent cucks and just kind of put them in a separate box because nobody really wanted to deal with them. They're really annoying.
Damn. Well, I mean, we're bringing them to hell to play this game.
Yeah.
Question.
And you might say that they've already been in hell.
Yeah. They're used to the climate.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, they're just living out their cuck life, you know? Yeah. Like, that's been a living hell for them.
God, what a game. Oh, man.
What a game. Game of the tournament. It might
Seriously, round one is going to be a crazy game.
Oh my
Boiling
God.
yaks of the underworld and the Violent Cucks United. You know, when you said that initially, I thought that it was like a soccer team.
Mm.
But
yeah, they played soccer once.
Oh, did they? How did that go?
Yeah, but they only played one game, and the other team slept with all their wives.
I really set you up for that one. Damn.
Yeah.
So these guys live in hell.
These guys live in hell. They're used to the underworld.
Yeah.
The question is, are they used to a big old bunch of boiling yaks?
Is anybody?
Oh man.
Oh God.
I don't know.
This is tough. Close game. Boiling yaks, can't touch them, can't get anywhere near them. They're aggressive. They got big horns and a lot of fur.
But the cucks have been through so much.
The cucks have faced worse than anything that the life can throw at them.
Yeah, you cannot get in their head.
No.
You know, they've got the mental game is down.
Mm-hmm. They show up to this game ready to watch, and it is.
And you know what? I think that's what it's going to come down to.
What it's gonna come down
I think they're going to watch the boiling yaks just dunk on them and sleep with their wives.
Damn. I'm going to, the biggest shame of this is I'm going to really miss talking about the Violent Cucks United.
I know.
But I think the boiling yaks are definitely going to take this one. Oh, good.
All right. What do you think about these next two teams?
Wisconsin and Montaigne. So Montaigne was a powerhouse last year, but they're not coming up too much here. I did notice they added an Enye to the team name, but that's special. They may be paying homage to the addition of New Mexico.
Oh,
as a
that makes sense.
Spanish-speaking nation, maybe even the addition of Peru into the tournament. So they're trying, they're being inclusive, which is nice. But does inclusivity pay in a sport like basketball?
I think they should be focused on their own game before they're focusing on others.
That's what I think. And, playing Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard of DEFCON 5. Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean,
yeah.
5, 6, 7, sin.
Yeah.
It's Wisconsin is a powerhouse.
Yeah.
They're violent and they're here to kill.
Yeah, it's sort of the amalgamation of all basketball sins that have ever been ever happened.
They're going to have a hard time with fouls, but they'll foul the refs. They don't care. They'll foul everybody.
They don't play by the rules.
They don't play by the rules. They'll hurt everyone.
Yeah.
And they'll definitely hurt Montaigne, who, they're more concerned about being inclusive than playing the great sport of basketball.
Yeah. And I think that's the greatest sin of all.
That's the greatest sin of all, which is going to put Wisconsin over them in this round of this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So then next we have the village that surrounds the volcano.
Okay.
Versus, I don't know, some German guy.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that the village did not sort of come in solidarity with the volcano.
Yeah,
they didn't they don't support the volcano
separately is an interesting thing for sure.
But
some German guy.
But it makes sense because the volcano was terrorizing them and burning them, but
they didn't have to build their village right there.
That's true. That was a choice.
Yeah. So, there's definitely, I hope that we get to see them, play each other in the semifinals, because that would be an interesting game. I think that's a game that they're both anticipating. Actually, we're not going to see that because...
they already got kicked out, but Dookie is going to have the volcano. It's still going to be in play. So, That would be an interesting, maybe they could like avenge the volcano. That's what they would be working for.
Yeah.
Which, like, you think
Enemies to
you
lovers.
think they would hate
kind
the
of thing,
volcano. Yeah, you think they'd hate the volcano, but they might come to love it. Like,
yeah.
later on, it could be an interesting story.
The volcano provides,
that could play out,
if you will.
Yeah, and or maybe they're like, oh, we don't want Dookie to have the volcano. We want to slay the volcano ourselves.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah. So I mean, they're going to be fighting for that for sure. But I think this German guy's a wild card.
Yeah, Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this guy, and that was good, by the way. And having I just recently watched Nosferatu, and I'm a little bit scared of Eastern Europeans now.
Okay, do you think this is sort of a Nosferatu like character that's kind of come onto the basketball scene?
Well, he resembles Nosferatu. With the accent and the mustache and the no hair and the hunch and the big fingers. But, he hasn't displayed, rat plagues or like turning into a bat or any of that kind of stuff. No like disease that I've heard of. So like he's got all of the stuff that Nosferatu brings to the table without like the really dangerous shit so far. So he is kind of a wild card, like I'm saying. Will he plague this village?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you know what kind of diseases he has?
Yes. I have his medical records. Most people, they were made public. There's some diseases that are, a little bit too private. I'm not going to bring up in a public forum. Some other stuff, Lyme's disease, mononucleosis, trichinosis, tendinitis in his ankles, both of his ankles. Oh. So that's pretty bad.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough for the basketball.
Hard to play basketball with tendinitis, but nothing... Okay, there is something about rat plagues. So he has he's got a rat plague. Similar to the bubonic plague, but it's mostly just a bunch of rats.
Do they carry a sort of contagious version of tendinitis they could give to the villagers? Is that a strategy?
That's what I'm seeing. Is he has millions of rats that he controls with his mind, and they carry tendinitis. That's what it says on his medical.
Yeah, and I think that he's dealt with the tendinitis for so long that he knows sort of how to do a layup, like how to work around it. But when the villagers get it for the first time due to all the rats, I think they're gonna have a tough time.
Yeah. Plus, their seamstresses haven't learned like ankle braces and knee braces and stuff yet. So, and he brought enough ankle braces for him and the rats. So, again, it's a wild card here, and I would hate to say that this village is gonna lose in the first round and not be able to avenge the death of the volcano.
Right.
But,
But we have to be realistic.
We have to be realistic and unbiased.
I think it's going to have to go to Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. Yeah, that goes to this German guy.
Oh, this one's interesting.
Another just guy.
Yeah, Robert Morris against a powerhouse, Alabama.
So Robert Morris, that's like the commissioner's nephew. Am I wrong? Sort of.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, it's sort of I don't want to call it nepotism, but this is just the son of someone important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the son of the commissioner of March Madness.
Yeah.
You think?
The March Madness commissioner. Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of, the integrity of the sport is a little bit called into question here with the inclusion of someone like this, which I think is probably why they put them up against a powerhouse like Alabama in the first round. We just wanted to knock Robert Morris out and stop talking about it.
Yeah. The problem is I think they might want Robert Morris to get one win to make him feel good. That's what I'm worried about. And so I'm wondering if Alabama's going to throw the game just to make Robert Morris kind of feel better.
Yeah.
And then they can kind of kick him out in the second round.
It's tough to throw Alabama under the bus for something like that. Just for the feelings of the 35-year-old nephew of the commissioner of March Madness. But he's had a rough year, and maybe just the pathos of it all, or ethos of it all, is going to convince him.
Yeah, you mentioned Robert Morris's year. Yes. He went through a tough breakup.
Call it what it is. It was a divorce. It was a 9-year divorce.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, do we just give him this one? I feel like...
Well, it's not up to us to decide. It's really, is Alabama going to just give him this one?
Is Alabama going to give it?
Yeah.
And the crowd's going to kind of be on Robert Morris's side.
I would say, yeah.
That's what's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be like, oh, good job, Robert.
I mean,
whenever he he's going to dribble the ball.
When Alabama's getting everybody's booed be like, for every score that they get, that's going to get in their heads.
Oh, man.
When they're fighting off, people throwing bottles at them every time they score points, And plus, 1v5 is tough. And it's not going to, the optics of a 5-man basketball team playing just, one overweight 35-year-old man it's a bad look.
It's tough. That's, it's tough when the bracket kind of falls like this, when you have these sort of one-sided matchups.
Yeah.
It almost makes you want to more intentionally create the bracket so stuff like this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're here, and it's like we got to do something with Robert Morris.
I think Robert Morris takes it.
I think it's, I don't want to say it's the right thing to do, but it feels like it's the right thing to do.
And if you and I feel that way, I think Alabama's going to feel that way the day of the game.
Yeah.
And so
they'll feel, they're not going to like the loss, but I think they're going to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah. Plus, if they won that game, they would all be doxxed and canceled. And, they would never be able to play basketball in this town again.
Yeah.
So that's, it is what it is, but that is what it is. You want to just blow through the Midwest? Because who fucking cares about any of these teams?
Yeah, I think this is speed round.
Yeah, we don't care about these guys. Houston versus
Houston versus SWE, the State Institute of Underage
Educators.
Yeah. I think the education system is flawed, but the basketball education is not terrible. I mean, we've talked about some of the great teams that we've already predicted in the bracket.
The thing about this though, state, what state? The underage for what? It's so, the whole thing is just so vague. I don't understand it. You don't understand it. What are they teaching? They're educators in what field?
Yeah, versus the Houston Holy Knights.
Yeah.
They're armed.
To the teeth.
They are trained. Yeah. They have the
holy
Lord on their
armor,
side.
blessed by Christ. You know,
Yeah.
I think they're going to take this over a bunch of little boys pretending to be geometry teachers.
Yeah. I think this one's going to the Holy Knights.
To the Holy Knights in Houston.
We have Gonzaga versus Georgia. The Gonzaga Gorgonzola.
Gonzaga Gorgonzolas. I'm a fan of Gorgonzola.
Okay. Then they win.
Hey, if that's all it takes.
Yep.
The Clemson Clementines.
Clemson versus my niece.
Is your niece good at basketball?
My niece, she just started. She just started, and
how old is your niece?
She's 4.5. So like just getting into basketball, you know. And she likes it.
Yeah, is she pretty good?
Yeah.
Well, Clemson's just a bunch of oranges.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of sliced oranges. It's like the kind of stuff you'd get at halftime in like a soccer game when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Just sliced oranges.
Now my dog's barking. I need to give me 1 sec to address this situation.
Stay safe.
All right, so there was somebody outside my house. It looked like a younger gentleman, and I decided to not deal with that.
What, like at your door?
Because, yeah,
knocking on the door.
There's somebody with a backpack.
No, we don't talk to those people.
Yeah, we don't talk. And when it's 10:26 p.m.
Yeah, we don't talk to random backpack wielding people at the middle of the night.
Yeah. So, but we appreciate Emma.
Yeah.
For being a good doggy.
Thanks, Emma. Question: possible member of SWE? The State Institute
at my door?
Yeah, the State Institute of Underage Educators.
Because
we did just say
possibly
that they would lose to the Holy Knights, and it's, right after we made that call, you got a knock on the door from a young school-aged boy with a backpack.
Huh. That's a good point.
We may be in some hot water.
It's very likely.
Yeah.
I think that I can't be intimidated. Like these are our choices, and like I know that our choices have consequences. Yeah. I know this.
Yeah.
Like we like the teams that we choose are 20 times more likely to win.
Mm-hmm. Mathematically speaking, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't want to be bullied by these educators anymore.
I will not be bullied. Thankfully, I'm in a secure location. I can't be found where I am right now, so I don't think I'm going to be harassed. But
that's good.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's people out there looking for me right now, based on some of these
and a lot
calls.
of people don't know this. Like the reason why we do this separately is that if one of us dies, the other one is in a safe location and they can still put the results out there.
Yep. We do this for you out there so that you guys can make that fucking Vegas money when you bet on these games and you go in our calls and you make millions of dollars.
Yeah, make sure you bet on these games, okay? Yeah. Just as we say them. Yeah, the ones we're giving points, like, when we say it's going to be 2-0, it's going to be 2-0.
Yeah, this is basically Uncut Gems. And we're out here making that money. Was it Uncut Gems? Is that the one I'm thinking with Adam Sandler?
I don't know.
With Adam Sandler, and he's like a sports betting guy, and then he dies.
I have no clue.
Hey, anyways, so I gave it to
Clem.
I gave it to your niece.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah. I think it's funny that your sibling decided to name their daughter McNiece because they were your niece. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think it's going to be a cute game. Like,
it's going to be eating some oranges. Now, how many oranges can your niece put away?
Oh,
because she's only got to eat 5 orange slices, but for a 4-year-old, that's a lot of orange.
I think 2 comfortably. 3, we start to get cranky. 4 is we have to sort of force it down my niece's throat.
Mm-hmm.
5, I don't know if we're doing 5.
Well,
but I think that's enough.
That's enough, because 1 orange slice, she can just stomp that shit out if she needs to. She probably would have accidentally by that point. So,
yeah.
So
next we have Purdue Farms against the High Point.
Yeah, they grew
the highest point in the nation.
They grow all natural Purdue fondue.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a tree sap, but it's cheese.
It's good.
It's good.
It's good. Good cheese.
Tree cheese. Yeah.
Tree cheese. The tree cheese is good. Similar to the Uck, that it really gets you caught in there.
It's sticky. It's the stickiest cheese that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
A lot of people think cheese, they think greasy. Not this cheese. This cheese is sticky, sugary mess. A lot like tree sap, but it's funky. It's funky tree sap.
Yeah.
And they're just going up against the highest altitude-wise spot in the country. You put a tree at the top of a mountain, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and that cheese, that sap, that sticky goodness is going to flow down the mountain. It's going to encase the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
The mountain is now just a bunch of fondue.
And so the Purdue Farms fondue trees win that round.
Yep.
I don't know how to pronounce that word. Is it French? Is that what you're saying?
Illinois.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. And they're playing Texas.
Mm-hmm. I'm
surprised to see Texas Xavier so low. Oh, is it Xavier?
I think this is another one of those kind of coin flip games.
Yeah.
I think Texas.
Big state. Texas big.
Big. Texas big. Not as big as the big boys, but
Oh, come on.
Mm-mm.
Not as big as the big boys, but it's a big state.
Illinois.
It's a French college, right? Like a French academy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Versus the population of the state of Texas. Now, this is something that I get confused about. Do they pick their top 5 basketball players in the state, or do they just all show up?
They all show up
mm-hmm.
to the game. They all can't fit on the court.
Yeah.
Which is the problem.
Yeah.
So they try to stack them. They try to sort of stack them to make, big players.
Mm-hmm.
If they can put a couple people together.
The court kind of becomes Texans.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like,
if you think about barbecue, it's just strands of meat.
Uh-huh.
If you think of each of those strands as a man, and you pile them together.
Uh-huh. That's what we're talking about here?
That's what we're talking. When we're talking Texas,
mm-hmm.
we're talking about a sort of man meat pile on a bun.
And can that beat up this French institute?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
I kind of feel like you're right. So we'll give that
Yeah.
to the human pulled pork sandwich. So we have the ancient city of Troy versus whiskey country Kentucky.
Ooh.
So
I mean, this is supposed to be the speed round.
mm-hmm.
The ancient city of Troy has so much wisdom.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep coming back to wisdom.
Wisdom's a big component
I think it's
in a
important.
basketball game. Yeah, you can't discount wisdom. It's a good stat too. It's a good stat modifier.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm happy to just hand it to Troy for that. Also,
Yeah.
Known as historically good warriors. Ancient Greek warriors.
Yeah.
We could just hand it to him, dude.
Yeah. And we don't even need to talk about the Trojan horse at this point. I don't think they need it.
No, I mean maybe in the next round, but not right now. Ukla and Utah.
Utah.
These are just caveman noises. These are noises that cavemen make.
Yeah. Yeah. This is.
Is it a semantic round?
Well, a bunch of cavemen sort of applied, and then they were like, "Okay, we're gonna put you in the tournament. Who's on what team?" And then there were a bunch that were like Ukla, 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 and then some were like Uta, Uta, Uta. Yeah. And so they were like, "Okay, Ukla's over here, Uta's over here. Your teams, and we'll put you in round one."
So whoever wins just becomes the caveman team.
Yeah,
basically.
So whoever bonks the other team on the head the most with their clubs.
Now, I will say, we were talking about wisdom. The inclusion of an L in the the phonetic, it doesn't. It says to me that there's a little bit more going on cognitively there, because L is it's a more complicated shape.
Right. They probably had a couple extra 1,000 years of like development and evolution,
and I think maybe that edge, just in the wisdom category, or maybe intelligence category, I think that might put them over the top.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we go with Ukla.
And this next word's got a lot of N's and S's and E's, which is uncomfortable for me. But
Okay.
And they're facing, yeah, me too. But they're facing Wolford the Giant.
Ooh, Wolford the Giant.
Yeah,
with his trusty wolf.
Yeah, and he's got those giant fur boots that he wears. So I don't know anything about all these S's and E's and N's. But
that's a big word, and I don't like it to be in our bracket for much longer.
I don't want to look at it anymore.
Yeah, I think we can give that to the wolf.
Yeah, Wolford. Yeah. And just like that, we're actually on to round 2.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We are over 2 hours on this recording now.
Yeah.
It took a long time to work through 64 teams.
Yeah.
This is going to be the historically the longest ever episode of our show, and we're not writing a song at the end. So if you thought that was happening,
going to power through this?
Curb your fucking expectation. We could do just round 1 and then come back and do another episode and just not write a song for several weeks.
Well, I mean, do we want to have this whole thing out like before? See, I don't think I have any more time before like bracket. Closes,
true. I guess
like on Thursday.
I guess we do have to power through it then, don't
we? Well, we're halfway done.
Well, we're more than halfway done.
Yeah, more than half.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Kind of.
No, we're halfway done. But it gets easier from here on out.
It gets easier because now we have the St. Francis.
Old guy
versus the Creighton Crawdads.
Now, can St. Francis's holy energy and belief in the Christian God penetrate the carapace of the Creighton Crawdads.
I do not think it can. I'm just gonna say that. I think, in fact, that the holy energy is just gonna be absorbed by the shell of those crawdads.
And then come next round, if they win, the Creighton Crawdads are gonna be glowing with Christ power. And that's not something that you want to face in March Madness.
Oh no!
So
yeah, you come to face with 5 big old crawdads with holy power.
You don't want that.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so we'll hand
You
that
do not
over to
want
Creighton Crawdads. That's an easy win.
All right, easy win.
Now we got Alex and Michael again going up against the Yuck.
Oh no, Alex and Michael, we know they're fast.
They're very fast, and they have guns, but can bullets penetrate the Yuck?
I think bullets do nothing to the Yuck.
And they can't even see through the Yuck to hit anybody that's down there.
Oh my god!
Now, what we can say
again
that the Yuck has never technically scored a point or won a basketball game.
I think it comes down to another coin flip, and the Yuck is gonna do it again.
Win on technicality on these dang coin flips, man.
Dang. All right,
Alex and Michael, just like that, man.
I'm sorry. I liked Alex and Michael. I thought they had good game. Like the guns were interesting to see, but not enough for the Yuck. Okay, this one is interesting.
Yeah.
Ole Miss.
See, I was thinking about this one earlier because what you have here is a game of saliva.
That's so true.
On both sides of the ball, we got a lot of saliva and lip smacking. You know, we have the enormous textured tongue of this giant ancient hound dog on one side, but then we got 5 lips on the other side.
five lips and the combs
of lips with combs
that just go through those lips. Are the lips combs going to be able to comb the lips of Ole Miss?
So if we think about it, I'm thinking about it like Shoreline. There's a lot of lip to comb.
Yeah.
And the jowls and the haunches of an old hound dog. You know?
Yeah.
How many combs do you need to comb those lips?
Yeah, and how horny can you make Ole Miss?
That's the thing.
I think she's past that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she's not going to be influenced.
She will not
by
be
the sort of
by
sensual nature of the lips comb.
I think you might be right. I think just with, again, wisdom has become a huge factor in this tournament so far, but I think just the ancient wisdom of Ole Miss is going to take this one over the horny lip combs.
Yeah, I think so. Now we have
the mystery team.
The mystery team against
the Mandarin Oranges. Is that what this was?
Michigan. The Michigan, I guess.
The Michigan Mandarin Oranges.
Yeah, they beat Kobe.
They were a basketball team. That was the big it factor, the X factor for Michigan in the first round is that they are a basketball team. Mm-hmm. And so they were able to win the first round. But now they're going up against this mystery team. Total wild card. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they came from. We know that they're sponsored by an art marker company. But we know little else.
Yeah. The question is the mystery going to be able to carry through to the next round?
How long can they stay mysterious is what you're saying.
Right, after a full game in the first round, are they still going to be mysterious, or do you think they're going to have tricks up their sleeve?
They might have to have tricks up their sleeve, and they might not be able to just rely solely on the mystery element throughout the entire tournament. So you're right. They're assuming that they have some more tricks up their sleeve, maybe like a buzzer hand, maybe some cards, maybe, like one of those magic wands that shoots a flower out of the end. If they have something like that, I could see them taking this game over the Michigan Mandarin Oranges. But if they don't have anything like that, it's hard to say.
I'm going to choose to believe in magic.
The childlike wonder of magic is going to send the Marquette Mysteries into the third round.
Yeah.
Incredible. And
next,
just like that, we're in the Western Territory again.
All right, this is easy. Now, we're in the home stretch. Florida.
And
versus UConn.
Versus the UConn. Florida, famously a rapper from Florida. Not used to...
how long can he survive?
Well, he's got to survive at least a week to make it to the next round.
Oh, if you're living in Florida...
You're not used to a climate like that. He's also famously not a super friendly guy. So making friends with tribes of Eskimos is not going to be easy for Florida. The language barrier is going to be big. I know he's a big wordsmith, but they don't speak his language, and I don't know, if he can rap in indigenous tongue. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the rapping is going to carry him. Now, unless he passes another charisma check.
Oh, okay.
Because that's how he got through. That's how he got through in the first round. I'm wondering if Florida comes up to an Eskimo and raps to persuade them.
Well, that's the thing, though. He had advantage, or he had a plus modifier in the first roll because they both spoke the same language. But I think he may be rolling with a disadvantage this time.
I think he still has his modifier. Yes, he's rolling with disadvantage because it's really cold.
It's really cold, and they don't speak the same language. So that means I'm going to be rolling 2 dice, taking the lower of the 2. And it's still a 15.
Yeah. Still a 15. That sounds right.
This is gonna. Oh, okay. That one didn't finish rolling. I'm gonna roll them both. Oh no, it is not looking good for Florida. Unfortunately, that was a 5.
Oh damn. Even with his +4 modifier,
that's
not enough to convince the Eskimos.
It's not going to convince the Eskimos to lend him some warmth. And so Florida is going to unfortunately lose in the second round to the UConn.
He had a good tournament, I will say. Like, I like the attempt at persuasion. I like a different kind of victory. It's not just about dunks and dribbles.
Yep.
Sometimes it's about persuasion.
Yeah. And, this time it wasn't his favor, but maybe next year. And just like that, we're moving straight along to the Memphis Moles versus the Poseidon and the Chesapeake Bay, playing with Maryland. So there's
here's
lot
the
to
thing.
Talk about here for sure.
The Moles, great at digging. Okay, so good at digging. Enough to defeat a mountain.
Yeah.
But critically, there's no water in that scenario, and you can't dig your way through an absolute torrent of water, which is the Chesapeake Bay and the oceans.
Well, we're gonna have a bunch of wet moles, and I just don't think a bunch of wet moles are gonna take it over the entirety of the Atlantic Ocean and Poseidon, the god of the ocean.
Yeah. I don't see it. I think that just there's too much water that Maryland has at its disposal.
So Maryland's going to take it in the second round.
Yeah. Okay, so we have sort of Drake's misery from
the constant perpetual misery of Drake versus Tech Nine
and his cybernetic
team. Yeah. This is an interesting thing because they are cybernetically enhanced to not have emotions and like feelings. And so they can't really experience misery the way that we experience misery, you know?
Right. But what happens when they come face to face with misery for the first time?
That's true. Maybe it will be so foreign to them that, you know, there could be some short-circuiting situation or like a, you know, just a failure of circuitry.
Yeah.
It's also possible that the misery, you know, passes the players and affects the owner directly, causing Tech Nine some distress. Because it is it is a cloud of misery, if you will. It's not necessarily just affecting the players. It will be, you know, the whole Coliseum, the ownership, like the staff, the hot dog guy, everybody.
Yeah.
So it'll be a bad game to go to.
Oh yeah, it'll be a terrible game to go to, and I think in that sense, misery is going to have the crowd on its side. It's a bit of home field advantage.
But really the question is, can Tech Nine's cybernetic boys still score baskets when they're sad? Because the concept of misery can't actually score baskets. It just has to keep the other team from scoring baskets.
Yeah, or get them to score baskets in their own hoop.
That's true.
I think since they're experiencing misery for the first time in their cybernetic lives, I think they're gonna it's going to overwhelm them. I don't see them making it out alive.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
I see them scoring on their own basket just to end it.
Yeah. Similar
to Drake.
But the thing
is,
it will look so cool. There will be rocket thrusters, you know, it'll be cool to watch. And the money that Tech Nine put up for these cybernetic enhancements this year will be worthwhile in that sense. But this will be the end of the road for Tech Nine and his cyber boys.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but, you know.
But it is what it is. And that's basketball,
It is what it is. So that's basketball.
Misery moves on to round 3, leaving Tech Nine in the dust. Now, this is Ark, Kansas. So, you know, the enlightened Kansas versus St.
against
John
an
the
enlightened
Baptist. Yeah,
an enlightened individual. So,
arguably a more enlightened individual being, you know, a saint.
Right. Because an enlightened version of Kansas, like the best version of Kansas, isn't going to, you know, be Tokyo.
Yeah, that's true. But thinking about it, like denominations, I think that Kansas is majority Baptist, which means, you know, St. John the Baptist is kind of their guy. And so I don't think that they would, even if they had the capability of beating him in a basketball game, I don't think that they could do it in good conscience because he's their shining little boy.
Right. Yeah. I don't have anything to add. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think St. John's
going to take
is going to take that one.
Okay, this is the one that we've been waiting for, I think.
Oh my God, let me see.
This is a volcano full of Dookie albums versus the Baylor Big Boys.
Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second. I gotta, give me 1 second.
I don't know what's going on over there, dude. He seemed distressed. My called shot, he comes back with his album of Dookie on CD.
Just give me 1 second.
Okay, all right.
Just give me one.
All right. Oh, is it your laptop dying?
My phone, which I'm using to record.
We're on the final stretch here, man.
All right, I need to find a way to plug this in.
Hey,
I think we're back.
There's nothing like a 3-hour podcast to wrap up a Tuesday, you know?
All right. Hopefully I'm still recording. It's
The
still
camera never went out or anything, so I think we're okay.
Yeah, I just unplugged my microphone.
Make sure that is OBS still recording your audio?
It's
cool.
like it's moving and stuff.
Cool. All right.
All right. So now we're moving. We've got a great matchup.
Yeah, this is a volcano full of CDs versus the Baylor Big Boys.
Yeah, the Dookie CDs.
Yeah, they're not just
course.
any CD, I will say. Yeah. Now, if you're the Baylor Big Boys in this situation, how do you approach a challenge like this?
Well, you want to use your bigness to your advantage.
That's definitely their trump card.
And there's some big boys. Okay, they can stomp, they can tromp.
Mm-hmm. But how effective is that against a volcano full of Dookie CDs? I mean, their best case is they stomp that volcano apart, but then all the lava and CDs come out and they burn their feet, and then that's their stomping tool. And if they take away the stomping tool, that's end game for Baylor Big Boys.
How much burning of their feet can the Baylor Big Boys take?
We've never seen it. But it's clear from watching them. It's impossible to communicate with them, but it's clear from watching them that their feet play a big role in their power and ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but this is sort of their kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
A lava-filled volcano full of sharp, pointy Dookie CDs with corners.
Yeah.
On the CD cases.
That'll do some
I'm
damage.
imagining the cases
to
are there
any
too.
foot, let alone a very big foot.
I think the Baylor Big Boys are gonna hurt their feet.
I think they're gonna hurt their feet. Now, will they sacrifice their feet for this win and then likely lose in the next round?
At the end of the day, this is still a game of basketball.
Yeah.
So even if they hurt their feet,
yeah,
will they be able to score more points than a volcano full of Dookie CDs?
I want to say yes, just for autonomy's sake.
I think, here's the thing. The Baylor Big Boys have more autonomy than a volcano full of Dookie CDs.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. And, they can stomp that volcano apart. They can get their feet all burnt and poked. But, they still have the use of the upper half of their bodies, and they can shoot baskets.
Yeah. You know what? I think the Baylor Big Boys are going to make it out of here badly burnt.
Yeah.
And I would be shocked if they make it past any further than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to give it to the Baylor Big Boys.
I think that's all we can do. I think that's a very well put. Baylor Big Boys take it.
Okay. Next we have Akron, Ohio.
Tires, they're bouncy. That's their whole thing. Versus the Oregon Ducks.
Yes.
But you have to remember, led by the former hockey captain that beat the Soviet Union in the 60s or the 80s or something. Yeah, his whole thing was hating Liberty. He beat Liberty, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But now he has to play the game of basketball against one of the bounciest teams that we've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Ducks aren't that bouncy, but they can fly.
Most of them. The human man can't, but the ducks,
human
the
man
other four
can't.
are ducks and they can fly.
Yes. They could take the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably hard for a duck to hold the ball.
Yeah, it's tough. But with the help of a man who could potentially, like, there could be some sort of a harness or a basket situation where the ball is in a vessel, which is then carried by four ducks and lifted. But then on the other side of the court, you have an actual basketball team.
Yeah.
So it's possible that while they're setting this
while they're
contraption
building
up, the other team is just scoring points.
Yeah, I think it comes down to how fast can you build. Because once you get the build off, you have the advantage. It's just while you're building, you're already down.
Yeah,
a bunch of points. How long do you think the build's gonna take?
Well, the thing too is these ducks are not. Are the ducks used to this type of maneuver? Like, do they know what's happening, or are they going to be fighting against him while he's trying to build this contraption? Because, if I know ducks, they're not super into getting ropes tied around them. And there's not a lot of good places to tie to a duck.
That's true.
So, there's a lot of question marks here. I want to believe. But
sometimes you just have to go with your heart.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's not about the stats. It's not about who the better team is. When you wake up on game day, both teams have the same chance. It's a 50-50 shot.
That's
both teams have the same chance to win.
Get in the beautiful game of basketball that you just don't see everywhere. There's that, everybody, the game starts 0-0, and that's where we're at. Can four ducks and a very old man, old man pull this off against an actual basketball team with rubber shoes?
Look, when you're young, when you're a child would say, yes, the ducks can do it. We want ducks. As you get older, you get more cynical.
Yeah.
And you start to think, ducks can't do that.
That's not a world I want to live in, though.
That's not the world I want to live in either.
For that
reason.
And
I think for that reason, the Oregon Ducks are moving on. Keeping the dream alive.
This next round is something worth talking about. We have the boiling yaks from the underworld versus the worst possible situation, Wisconsin.
Oh my God. This is a game of darkness and evil.
We have not left hell yet in this part of the country on the eastern seaboard.
Oh my God.
Boiling yaks from the underworld are facing off against really a situation that's gone beyond nuclear here, Wisconsin. And I don't even know how this game plays out. Tell me, what's the worst possible thing that could happen to a boiling yak from the underworld?
Oh my God.
Steam?
And you have to. I feel like the boiling yaks have been through so much.
Yeah.
And they're just coming off of a win against the violent.
They're feeling good.
Cucks
They're feeling
United.
really good.
They're feeling really good.
Yeah.
And they've just been sinning a lot.
Yeah. A lot of adultering going on.
A lot of adultery. And so Wisconsin is going to come in. The boiling yaks are already used to the sin.
Yeah, they kind of they were
they
born
live in the
sin.
sin.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
this isn't maybe you're right. This isn't really that big of a situation for them. This is their bread and butter.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think you're right.
I think we're giving it to the boiling yaks.
I think the boiling yaks from the underworld take this one, which is that's a big win.
That's a big win.
Yeah.
Wisconsin they're a good team.
Now, I think that Robert Morris loses the pity factor that he had round one. Because now he's in a good mood.
Yeah.
He just beat Alabama. That was a big day for him. He's coming into this smiling, looking great. He's not going to get that
They gave him a trophy. I think they gave him a trophy.
Yeah.
Like he won March Madness. They sort of made him believe that. I don't even know if he's showing up to
I don't
this
even
game.
think he's here, yeah. Yeah, I don't even think he's here. And so this German guy that might be Nosferatu, we're not clear on that. He shows up, and I think he just wins by default.
Yep.
And that's big for him because he's going to be well rested for next week when he plays the boiling yaks from the underworld.
Yeah, he's going to need that rest for the boiling yaks of the underworld.
Yeah.
Yep, that's Vanderbilt.
That's Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. And then we move into the Midwest Conference, which we don't really give a fuck about. We have Gorgonzola versus the Holy Knights of Houston.
Yeah. Ooh. The Holy Knights can cut the Gorgonzola.
Yeah. Now, I am not clear. Is Gorgonzola cheese?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it might be cheese.
Mm-mm.
That was a gap in my knowledge in the last round when they beat Georgia.
Okay. Yeah, we can get rid of them if you want.
Yeah, I don't want to think about the cheese anymore.
Yeah, I think the Houston Holy Knights, they got their swords with the holy might of the Lord.
Yeah.
I think they're doing well.
There's a lot of Catholicism in this bracket, I will say. A lot to talk about there as far as the Christian religion faith system goes. Now your niece is playing against a bunch of cheesy tree sap. And she's full of oranges from last week.
Oh, she's so full of the oranges. Oh, she's going to get so sticky with all of the Purdue
and
fondue.
Your siblings are going to have to
stat.
clean that up, and that's going to suck for them.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't like that for anyone. That's a lot of sap, and it's just, yeah. It's not going to be a good time for my niece, I don't think.
No, I don't think she's going to come away with a win either, which is just going to make it worse.
No. She's not that good at basketball. She only just started.
She's going to be good. She's got a lot of promise.
Yeah. I mean, and like hopefully they'll lower the hoop for her.
I think they would. I think that's only nice.
But I don't know if it's going to be low enough. Mm-hmm. With all the sticky fondue tree cheese.
Yeah, I agree.
So I got to give it to Purdue. I know I feel bad because it's my family, but
it's family. but I think you're right. So, moving right along to the holy city of Troy versus the state of Texas in the form of a really big pulled pork sandwich.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, with Texas, you have all these men just lying around as if they're strands of meat in a pulled pork sandwich.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about, factors that Troy brings to the table. They have the horse. They didn't use the horse the first round, so they still have that. But how useful...
Right, so they have that trick up their sleeve.
How useful is that, though, versus a big, big pulled pork sandwich made of people?
I feel like it kind of turns the game into like a Happy Meal.
It does. You get the toy.
It's like you get the toy.
Yeah. That's a good point, and that's a factor.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, well, what's the more important part of the Happy Meal?
The toy or the meal?
The toy or the pulled pork sandwich?
I'll tell you, when I was a kid, it was the toy.
Yeah.
It was the Backstreet Boys DVD or VHS tape that I got. That was life-changing for me.
Some Pokemon cards, maybe?
Yeah.
Like...
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the toy is pretty important. If we talk about childlike wonder, let's talk about the Happy Meal toy.
That's been a big factor in this tournament. Childlike wonder has come through time and time again. Now, in this next round, we have what I would consider to be like a rivalry, because Wofford the Giant with his wolf companion, he's been fighting off cavemen, every season,
right.
like forever, essentially. So like he's well prepared to face off against Ukla, but again, Ukla, these are slightly more intelligent cavemen. They might have a means, and again they they're also prepared to face off against Wofford. So I don't really know which way this one swings.
The thing is, I think while Ukla is slightly more intelligent than Utah, I think they're still not that intelligent. They haven't developed that much.
No.
While I think Wolford the Giant, with his wolf companion, is a much higher functioning being.
Yeah, he's definitely a more intelligent being.
I think one swig of his club will take out a lot of cavemen, where I don't think the cavemen are taking down the giant or his steed.
No amount of clubs, clubbing, or, they haven't even developed fire yet, which that would burn his big furry boots, but they haven't figured that part out yet. So I just don't think it's a possibility. We're going to have to go with Wofford.
Yeah. For sure.
And that's the end of round 2.
Okay,
just
round
like
2
that.
Just flew by. Okay,
Flew by.
Now we're getting exponentially faster with these rounds.
This is going to be just 2 games per conference here.
Now, let me tell you what, I love going back to the Creighton Crawdads.
Me too. Man, they are just such an X factor in this tournament.
This might be the game of the tournament, though.
Yeah.
The Creighton Crawdads against the Uck.
That's big. Because listen, Crawdads, maybe they're not used to this sheer amount of Uck, but they kind of live in Uck.
They kind of live in Uck. I think this is the one team that can deal with the Uck.
Because they're going to be in the Uck with them.
Yeah. They can be in the Uck. They can, I think they might be able to get 1 point out of the Uck before it goes to the coin flip.
And that's the thing, is they only have to put 1 point on the board to knock Uck out of this tournament. And
also, they have the holy shell.
That's true.
From absorbing the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
From St. Francis. So
I think that's going to dispel the Uck off of their carapaces anyway. And so the Uck is kind of a non-factor in this game, unfortunately. They played a good tournament, but there's just no way.
Yeah. Man, it's crazy to think about. Like, if you go back to round one, the Uck seemed unstoppable.
I didn't know how they were going to lose, but
that's what's great about March Madness is that once you get further along in the tournament, you start to see, okay, how all of these giants coming together.
Things change.
They have to take each other out somehow.
Yeah, they pick
Somebody
up
has
new
to be
abilities.
The winner.
Things change. Teams develop and grow and become better or worse sometimes. I think we're going to see later on the line a couple of these teams, the Baylor Big Boys, for instance. In this round, they're going to have to deal with some new factors that they didn't have to deal with the first two rounds.
Right.
Burnt, stabby feet. So anyway, we'll just stick in the South for right now. Our next game is going to be Ole Miss.
Ole Miss
versus the mystery element.
The mystery. Now, this is interesting because I do not think that the mystery is going to be able to fool the wisdom of Ole Miss.
I don't think so either. There's ancient wisdom behind those tired eyes.
When you've seen as many things as Ole Miss,
nothing.
You can't be surprised.
Honestly, Ole Miss has probably known what was behind those masks the entire tournament. And if I were Ole Miss, the first thing I would do would be dispel that mystery, and I think what that'll do is it'll kill their power.
Right.
I don't think they'll have that to lean on for the rest of that game, and if they don't have the magic, I don't think they have anything.
Right. I think it's got to go to Ole Miss.
Got to go to Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Now this one's interesting because we're sending the entire ocean to the Yukon.
Ooh, it gets chilly over there.
It's real cold, but can it freeze?
Can it freeze the ocean?
And, another factor, we haven't checked in with Poseidon, but I don't know that he was going to stick with Maryland the entire tournament. He was there with them when they had to face off against the Grand Canyon for obvious reasons. He was there with them when they had to make a bunch of wet moles. But, now...
Because those were battles of sort of land versus sea that I think Poseidon was
could
behind.
Definitely get behind. But this is ice versus water. Ice is, just a different kind of water.
Yeah, I don't think Poseidon wants to take sides in this particular event.
And if Poseidon bows out, we have much less water, and it's less of a salt water, more of a brackish. So the freezing temperature is not going to be quite as low as if it were just pure salt water in the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'll have a Chesapeake Bay amount of water. Is that enough to convince the Eskimos to join your cause? To lay down their arms.
Well, it's not a drinkable amount. You can't drink Chesapeake Bay water, so they can't use it for trade. Really, it's going to be more of a bane than a boon, I think, because it's just going to be a lot of frozen water.
I think Maryland might get the thirst from being out in the Yukon, try to drink the Chesapeake Bay water, and then perish. They'll end up ultimately bow out of the tournament.
I think you might be right, and that's going to put the Yukon into the semifinals for the Western Territory.
I hate to say I'm a little bit biased towards as a Marylander, but that water's just too tempting not to drink.
Without the support from the Greek god Poseidon, I just don't think they're gonna be able to go any further in this tournament. But moving on,
this one's interesting.
We have Drake's Undying Misery versus
against St. John.
St. John,
a holy figure, a sort of anti-misery.
He is a
figure,
force
I would
against misery, harnessing the light of Christ. I think if anything is going to stop Drake's misery, it would be putting his faith in the Lord.
Yeah. And I think this is a nice lesson. Like, I like this storyline in the tournament, I guess is what I'm saying. I like overcoming the darkness, having Drake sort of see Christ. It's sort of like, Drake really grows throughout the tournament. Even though he loses in round 1, he goes on this journey.
Yeah.
And I think it culminates in this moment.
I think you're right. And, Drake is, honestly, we don't really have a loser in this particular round because, St. John the Baptist is going to win this basketball game, I think. But, Drake is going to be cured of his undying misery. And, he's going to go on and make some more good rap songs.
Yeah. And they'll be more positive, and Christ-like.
Yeah. So yeah, not there. I that's a feel good round, I would say.
Yeah, I like it.
Next thing, we got the Baylor Big Boys versus 4 Ducks and a very old man. But what you got to remember, again, these Baylor Big Boys, they got burnt feet with lots of little pokey holes in them.
The Ducks have a sort of basket thing that they've created,
and they made it last week, so it's already set up for this week. They don't have that time delay that they had last time.
Now the Big Boys are still big. They'll be able to swat at the Ducks. But the Ducks have a basket, so
hey, this is a tough one.
This is a tough one. I thought the Baylor Big Boys would be out because of their burnt feet.
But honestly, this is kind of a best case scenario for them in this round. If they were going to go into a game with burnt feet, I think 4 Ducks and a very old man is kind of the ideal.
Yeah, I think the Baylor Big Boys might just be big enough to deal with 4 Ducks and a very old man.
I'm going to give it to Baylor Big Boys in this one.
Yeah. It's shocking. I thought they were out for sure. I mean, I'd love to see him still in the tournament.
Me too. I'm kind of, secretly kind of rooting for the Baylor Big Boys here. But yeah, no, after facing off against the Dookie Volcano, I didn't have a lot of hope. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to this round. This is an interesting one.
Yeah. The Boiling Yaks of the Underworld against Vanderbilt.
Now, this might be where Vanderbilt is going to really show his cards. Because there's been a lot of speculation that he might be, the vampire Nosferatu. And if he is, this is where he's going to pull it out. This is where the stops come off. The rat plague comes out. Everything that he's got is going to come out in this game if he's got it. On the other hand, you could say that this German guy, he's coming off of a rest week essentially, but the Boiling Yaks of the Underworld kind of also coming off of a rest week. Last week they just faced off against their own day-to-day lives.
Right.
So both of them are coming to this game healthy. They're coming in strong. It's just gonna depend on those X factors that we were talking about.
Yeah, I think the heat of the Yaks is going to deter a lot of the rat disease. It's just gonna boil it right up. So I don't see the Yaks getting sick.
Yeah.
I see these as healthy Yaks throughout the entire game.
No, me too. Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything that can take, if there's anything that Vanderbilt, even with all his vampire powers, like a bite, you're not going to be able to bite the yak.
No, can't bite the yak. His whole thing was kind of, if he is Nosferatu, and I'm not making any claims here publicly, but if, his whole thing historically has been kind of, soul ownership and like possession to a certain degree. A lot of illness and disease comes into play, but it's mostly like, can he effectively bargain for the soul of these yaks to the point that they can't beat him because he technically owns them. And so I think that what's going to come into this game more than anything else is what Vanderbilt does in the week prior to the game. Because if he's bargaining for souls, the day the game comes up and it's essentially a forfeit. But, we'll see.
Yeah, I think that the Boiling Yaks are already of the underworld. I don't know if their souls can be bargained with.
They might not have souls.
They might not even have them. And even if they do, they're so filled with malice and evil.
Yeah.
I don't see... I think if Vanderbilt took one of those souls, he might not be able to handle it.
You might be right.
Because they're so hot.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a factor I hadn't considered. And, with that coming into play, I think you're right. Even if he is Nosferatu, I don't think he has a chance against these Boiling Yaks.
I think the Boiling Yaks are going to take this one.
I think you're right. That's another big L for Vanderbilt there.
Yeah.
Moving into the Midwest Conference, the conference we don't really give a fuck about again.
This is the Holy Knights of Houston.
Yep.
Versus the Purdue Fondue Tree Cheese. Now, I think... So the Holy Knights, they have holy armor. They're real strong.
They have swords.
But
yeah.
Have you ever tried to get tree cheese out of holy armor?
No.
I think it's gonna clog the armor pieces together. I think it's gonna be tough to move. I think there's going to be too much tree cheese.
I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I will say, I think if they can remain mobile enough to win this basketball game, I don't think they'll be able to clean their armor before next week's game, which will be a big disadvantage to them. But if they can stay mobile and agile enough while amassing cheese, then they could win. They could win this week, but I don't see them going any further than next week.
I don't see big, bulky, boots going through tree cheese, wading through it with a basketball in hand.
No. Yeah.
I don't know. The only way they could win is with threes. I don't think their shooting is good enough.
I think you're right.
I'm going to give it to Purdue.
I think tree cheese takes this one. Man. And lastly, in the Midwest, we have Wofford the Giant versus the ancient city of Troy.
The thing is, the Trojan horse already been used. It's not going to work again. Yeah, Wofford the Giant is huge.
And he's got his wolf.
He picks that horse up like a toy. He's got his wolf.
Yeah. We have we've got some strong warriors in Troy, but, I don't think any amount of warriors.
I think this is how Troy fell.
Wofford the Giant rolled right over him with the big dub and took this in the third round. And we are back to the Southern Conference for the semifinals.
Semifinals. Oh, I always love to be here.
Yeah, this is big.
Because this is maybe the match of the tournament.
This is a game.
the Creighton Crawdads against Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. So we got to remember the Creighton Crawdads still have some of that holy energy left over,
Right.
from having dealt with St. Francis earlier in the game or in the tournament. Ole Miss, while she does have the wisdom of centuries, she doesn't have any holy energy.
Right.
And that might be the X factor here.
This might be where her age catches up to her.
Those old
the Creighton
tired
Crawdads are young. They are filled with energy, holy and non-holy. They've got claws. They can pinch.
And, I think what I think might happen here is I think that Ole Miss, she might bow out to the younger generation on this one.
I was thinking the same thing.
She's just that good.
I like that.
I like that. It's respectable.
Passes the torch on to the next generation.
I think that's what's
And then
gonna
one
happen.
day you may have some old crawdads.
Yep. And they'll pass it on. And that's the beauty of the great sport of basketball.
Yeah. I like that. That's a beautiful storyline.
Yeah, I think so.
March Madness, it's all about telling stories.
And I mean, and not to take anything away from the Creighton Crawdads because they are a team. Just because they didn't have much of a fight with Ole Miss in this one, doesn't take anything away from just the sheer athletic ability of those Crawdads.
Right. It'll be a great game for sure. Ole Miss is going to make the Crawdads work for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think in the end she's going to want to pass the torch.
Yeah.
And there's a reason she didn't do it to any of the teams that she played earlier.
They just weren't worthy.
They weren't worthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creighton Crawdads, I think we all know they're worthy.
They're worthy. And into the Western Territory we go, where we are sending St. John the Baptist into the frozen wastes of the Yukon for an entire week. Now, there's a really interesting basketball situation that comes up here where can we have the Yukon Territory win a basketball tournament? I don't, because my thinking is that, obviously St. John the Baptist has the warmth of his belief in Christ, which will probably carry him through, 2 days, 3 days easily. But what I can see happening here is he's going to try to turn this into some missionary work. He's going to try to convert any of the Eskimos he comes across, and I just don't think they're going to take kindly to that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they don't have any access to that religion, otherwise they're going to have no sense of who this man is. And yeah, it's like, what has their exposure to Christ been before this? Just living in the Yukon. I don't know if they've had that. I don't know if St. John is going to have the same sort of influence. I think he might need to make another a charisma check similar to Flo Rida.
That's what it keeps coming down to with these Eskimos is Riz.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to get the disadvantage because I think that his belief in Christ can sort of, surpass the language barrier here. But what would you say that St. John the Baptist just base charisma is and his modifier?
Let's see. If Flo Rida was 4, I'd say St. John is 3.
Yeah, I think a 3 is a healthy bet. So,
and then the he's got to make a 15, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's the same DC. Yeah, so that'll be a 15. All right, let's see it. Put my face behind the anticipation. Oh no.
Oh my god. Oh no. Yeah. Oh jeez.
St. John defeated by the frozen wastes of the Yukon, and now we have a a territory in the Final Four, which is not a situation. It's never ideal.
Never happened before.
Yeah.
This is a first. This is why we love the tournament, though. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen here. So this next game, I hesitate to say this, but this might be the end of the road for our Baylor big boys.
Yep. The thing is, they're still dealing with their burnt feet.
Yeah.
They're in pain.
Well, if you think about
every step they take,
the injuries that they took, they are severely burnt and they are stabbed and poked. And, think about the boiling yaks from the underworld. Pokey horns, very hot. There's going to be a lot of
this.
Yeah.
This is the worst case scenario for the Baylor big boys. Mm-hmm. It's almost unfair. I don't care how big they are.
Yeah.
These boiling yaks are too hot. They've had a couple easy rounds themselves.
Yeah,
the Baylor big boys have had tough, hard-fought games where they have barely made it out alive.
I think if they got to this round, with a little bit less injury, I think this would have been a different conversation. But
if this was round one, I'd say maybe the Baylor big boys would have it.
Yeah, I think maybe.
But
right,
when you have only half of a big boy, and you're going up against fully mobile, boiling yaks, I don't think there's really anything you can do.
What do you do in that situation? So that's going to send BYU to the Final Four. I'm sorry, the boiling yaks of the underworld are in the Final Four. And then we're heading to Midwest again. Don't really give a fuck. We have Cheesy Tree Sap versus Wolford the Giant and his pet wolf companion.
Yeah. Now, I think that Wolford the Giant is going to be so distracted by how much cheesy sap, how much tree cheese there is, he's going to start gorging himself.
I think the wolf, too.
With the cheese.
Wolf is a non-factor.
The wolf, too. I don't think they'll be able to stop.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, it's just as simple as that. I think the Purdue Farms cheese fondue moves into the Final Four, which takes us, if we could get a drum roll, which brings us into the Final Four conversation of March Madness. D-Hey, can I get a rundown of our four contenders here left in this final round?
All right. We have the Creighton Crawdads. We have the Yukon, the Boiling Yaks of the Underworld, and last but not least, the Purdue Tree Cheese Fondue.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
What a tournament it's been.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew it would come down to these four.
I think we did know, but just the emotional roller coaster that this has been, the heartache, the heartbreaking games, like a lot of we gotta maybe just a moment of silence for all the teams that really put all their heart into this, and it just didn't pan out this year for them, But moving right along, first round here in the Final Four.
The Creighton Crawdads versus the Yukon.
This is big because, they are technically of the water. I don't know how well they do in the cold. Crawdads, that is.
Especially,
yeah.
Yeah. But they do have sort of the holy.
Well, see, that was something I was thinking about, because the holy energy from St. Francis, that was week 2. It's been 3 weeks since then. I don't know how long.
You think it's wearing off?
Holy warmth of their armor is gonna stay put and keep them warm through this week in the Yukon.
I think it'll keep them warm for maybe 4 or 5 days, but then they're gonna have to find some warmth themselves. I think the question is, do they survive? Are they able to gather enough materials and then survive the remainder of the time in the Yukon, while they have their Holy Spirit, or do you think they're just not going to make it through the cold?
It's a really good question because, everybody knows this. I'm not saying anything that people don't know, but crawdads actually dig burrows into the mud to survive the winter. So they'll dig deep and down to where the earth is warmer, and they'll stay there for the majority of the winter. But the question is, this isn't just this is effectively permafrost. This isn't a creek bed. This is this has been frozen dirt for a long time. So even with the holy energy from St. Francis and just the sheer power of their impenetrable carapaces, can they dig through this earth and get down to warmer soil where they can survive for the week?
Well, if you think about it, they've been clawing through their way through this tournament the entire time.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that they can claw a little bit deeper.
I think we would be wrong to count them out.
And, lobsters live at the bottom of some cold water.
That's true.
I mean, not that they're crawdads, but these are big crawdads.
They're bigger than lobsters.
So I think that they might be built. I mean, we know they're built pretty tough based on their previous wins. They didn't have an easy route through this tournament.
I think that's very well said. I think these Creighton crawdads are built Ford tough, and that's going to push them to the dub into the finals, the championship game against the winner of this next game, the Boiling Yaks of the Underworld versus Purdue Farm Fondue Sap. And I think maybe we can just push the Yaks forward and not spend too much time on that.
Yeah, I think they're the sap is only so useful when it's in its sort of stickier, more, more sappy state. Once it's boiled by these boiling yaks, it's going to flow off. It's just going to flow off of them. I don't think that this is going to sort of stick to the yaks as well as it stick to, say, the Holy Knights or Wolford.
I don't think it's going to stick to the yaks. Now, the yaks do have fur. They're big, furry animals, and I think there is going to be somewhat of a cheese component moving into the next round, where they're going to have some residual cheese in their fur.
Right, but I think they're just too hot to have it really encumber them.
I think they're just too hot. And so that will push the Boiling Yaks of the Underworld straight through to the finals.
Oh my God.
It all comes down to this. And might I say, historically, the longest podcast we have ever recorded. Coming in at this moment at 3 hours and 10 minutes.
I have not had dinner yet. It is 11:44.
When I walked into this room to do this, I told my fiance, it'll take about an hour. I think she's gone to bed.
Yeah. But you know who hasn't gone to bed? These Creighton crawdads and the Boiling Yaks of the Underworld.
Listen. This game is.
I don't know who's going to win this.
It's honestly a toss-up. These are two powerhouse programs that have just been blowing their way through this tournament, making mincemeat of every competitor. what can you say? Last week, Creighton Crawdads in the frozen wastes of the Yukon, and now this week up against the boiling heat of these underworld Yaks. It's just the full range of temperature, competition. It's just you can't write this stuff. This is what I love about the great game of basketball, is that
it is poetry.
It is poetry in motion, is what it really is. So, have they recovered from the permafrost from last week? But, even if not, we have these Yaks with cheese in their fur. They're not at their best, a little bit stinky, a little bit sticky. And, they might not be at the top of their game as well. So what it really comes down to is, who can push into the, just get that X factor and push to the finals.
Right. I think the Creighton Crawdads no longer have their holy powers, which is tough.
That's tough.
Because all throughout the tournament, they were getting stronger, they were gaining more abilities. They were, and then all of a sudden we're at the finals and we're kind of back to the Crawdads. We're a little cold, but at the end of the day, the Creighton Crawdads are a great team.
Yeah. This is where we were week one. Maybe we lost our holy armor, but they were a great team week one. They were a great team the entire tournament, and they're a great team today. I don't even think, even without that holy armor, I think we would still be in the same position. Now, you could say the same thing about these boiling Yaks, because they have not changed week to week. They've been the same team. No change of tactic. They've done nothing but been very hot, boiling Yaks with big horns, and they just have rolled straight
and a lot of malice.
A lot of hate and malice. And they've rolled straight through this basketball tournament. And now, this face-off, it's really hard to say who's going to pull one out and win.
Yeah.
I think all that we can really do in a situation like this is go with our gut.
I had a thought. How do you cook a crawdad?
Oh no.
You put it in some boiling water.
It is poetry in motion.
Now, these boiling Yaks, are they hot enough to boil the Creighton Crawdads? I think that's what it's going to come down to.
That's what it comes down to. Covered in cheese?
Because
maybe not.
Covered in cheese, have some crawdads, little bit of tree cheese on there. Call it a southern crab boil.
God, the thing is I don't, we've been dealing with a lot of bias through this tournament, but I gotta say, it feels like a good guy, bad guy situation, and I really don't want to give this to the boiling Yaks of the underworld. I really feel like the Creighton Crawdads will find a way to win. But it's tough. This would be the toughest game of their career.
I know. I feel like I'm biased towards the Creighton Crawdads. I've loved their journey.
Yeah.
I love that they're big crawdads and they got pinchy claws.
I love that. I love all of that.
And the boiling Yaks are sort of the heel of the tournament.
Yeah.
They are just boiling Yaks filled with malice. And
I think something like this, and I know, a lot of people are counting on us for, their Vegas betting cards, and I don't want this to take away from that, but sometimes you got to follow your heart. And my heart is telling me that these crawdads are going to push through.
You know what? They've dealt with the cold. They've dealt with the holy. Now it's just the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to deal with the hot and the malicious.
I think that these crawdads can do it.
If they can deal with one side of the spectrum, why can't they deal with the other?
That's what makes a great basketball team.
Yep. And I think that's what makes a great basketball tournament, sort of overcoming adversity.
And we've seen so much of that over these last 5 rounds. Just incredible adversity, incredible athleticism, a lot of unholy energy, a lot of otherworldly, power, a lot of cheating, a lot of, unexpected everything. Every aspect of a good story you could find within the brackets of this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And now here we are at the end of it, and I think I have to go with the Creighton Crawdads.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect way to sort of bring the story of the tournament together. And it seems cheesy when the heroes win. But sometimes you need to have the wisdom to hope.
The wisdom.
And I think Ole Miss knew that this was the one team that could defeat the malicious boiling yaks of the underworld. I think Ole Miss knew this was a battle for the world.
Yeah.
And so she had to step aside.
When she passed the torch. She knew exactly how this was going to end. And if we can't trust that old hound dog, who can we trust? And with that, I'm going to send the Creighton Crawdads to the championship, and they are going to win March Madness 2025. Almost 3.5 hours.
I think that's going to be it for the Chaos at the Coffee Shop podcast.
Sorry, no song this week.
This is SportsCenter.